We saw an emotional Tyler Reddick yesterday win the pole. He's in the 45 on the right side of these lines coming at you, the inside line. Denny Hamlin on the outside. They make up row number 1 as we are getting ready for the start of the Brickyard 400 from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Reddick in the 45, surging ahead of the 11 of Denny Hamlin. The draft will be important. You see some getting out of line, some getting in line. William Byron under attack in the 24.
This is what we talked about. You can see some guys just thinking they have to run the bottom of the racetrack. Others trying to make that second lane work. Christopher Bell trying to make a move. And that black and white car at the back of your screen did not work, and look to what's happened. Kind of slowed that whole line up.
19 of Martin Truex Jr. had a penalty in inspection earlier, so they had to come to pit road and do a pass-through penalty. We see him on pit road now. All in line again. And these early laps learning how they can make passes around this racetrack. We are right along with the highpoint.com on board of Chase Briscoe.
Chase Briscoe trying to figure out where he wants to run. You can see as he gets a little bit closer down the straightaway with that draft. Now too wide in front of him. Now he's got to really be careful to hit his marks. Those cars get side by side. It takes all the air away from your car. All the way out of the gas, misses the groove.
He was right on the back bumper of A.J. Allmendinger. That number 16 took the air off the front of the car.
Well, and the lift you heard is why the 17 easily cleared Briscoe. Now he's under attack as well by that Bass Pro car you see on the bottom. I believe that's the 10 of Noah Gragson. So 2 positions lost with that 1 mistake.
Todd Gilliland, black number 38. Here comes Carson Hocevar in the 77. Both going by the 99 of Daniel Suarez.
If you lose, you have to breathe that throttle. They're going to gang up on you. They're going to fly by you on the straights. You have to leave these corners with acceleration. Especially right now, Steve, when everybody's packed up on these restarts.
It's a test of patience, really, because you feel you can make a move on the car in front of you. You see Chastain and Suarez teammates side by side. The 99 gives the spot, gets right to the bottom to protect, keeping the 33 of Ty Dillon behind him. Eric Jones, the green and white car behind him.
Reddick has a 3/10 of a second lead over Denny Hamlin. There's Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson. Michael McDowell running in the 5th position right now, 2.4 seconds back. The registry on board giving us this vantage point from right above the splitter for Austin Dillon, right on that front bumper.
One thing very special about this racetrack is this surface. It is so smooth. Jeff, you and I were out there earlier in the weekend. I mean, it feels like a freshly paved highway. It's not freshly paved. It's just so well cared for. No real bumps, no real ripples.
Austin Dillon trying to figure out where he wants to run. Is it better to be a little bit higher and try to get a little downforce off the right side of the vehicle in front of you, or run a little bit lower? And when I say that, Rick, I'm talking about 3 or 4 inches. You know, at 170 miles an hour, it's not a car width. It's inches that you're trying to negotiate at a high rate of speed. If you try to carry too much speed, then you do miss those marks.
pass here. The 8th of Kyle Busch. After starting pretty deep in this field, Kyle Busch qualified 34th.
Wow.
In and out of the gas.
Yeah, really working the throttle. See the challenge. Now here comes the run. Does he defend? Does he stay in line?
Riding along with Kyle Busch. Let's take a look at the progressive telemetry. We mentioned the speeds that you could see here. There will be shifting through the turn, 164 miles an hour. And down this front stretch, will he get to 200? 201 before he gets out of the gas.
And the draft, we talk a lot about the air for the downforce, Jeff, in the corners. But the draft on these cars is real. Like, that's 201 for a car back in traffic. I'm not sure you'll see 201 out of the leader. Faster through the corner with the clean air, but I'm not sure the top end speed on the straightaway would match.
Well, you can see him closing that gap. See the 1 car on the outside, the 33 car. Ty Dillon underneath the 1 of Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain not with the pace we would expect of that car early in this race. And remember, he is in a tight point battle. He is right on that cut line, just ahead of Bubba Wallace, getting past again. Bubba Wallace is running 14th position. This is not the start of the race that Chastain needs.
Yeah, getting past for 32nd. Trying, oh, that's a big block. We'll see what that silver and black 41 of Ryan Preece feels about that.
That shows you how competitive it is. He's willing to make that block and put himself in jeopardy for 32nd. And that shows you the intensity of this racing. You cannot give up any spot. You may not ever get it back.
Well, side by side here as Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is trying to gain a spot. Make sure to switch over if you're watching on USA to NBC. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR is brought to you by Xfinity Mobile. Customers now get exclusive access to Wi-Fi speeds up to a gig in millions of locations nationwide. Take NASCAR on the go with Xfinity Mobile. Whether you're in the grandstands or high above this racetrack, today's aerial coverage brought to you by Shady Rays. Enjoying the Brickyard 400 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Out front, it's Tyler Reddick, but a pass for second where Chase Elliott was able to get by Denny Hamlin. Here's how he did it.
Yeah, a little bit of a run. You see the 11 move down to kind of block. But he just, I think that's enough. Almost like he was trying to give him the top. And afraid another car might go by as well. And 9 easily was able to clear the 11 off the corner. And really, the 9 looks pretty decent. He's now pulled up to within a half a second of the leader, Tyler Reddick.
Whitey, is Denny saying something about this 11 and how it's handling?
Well, Rick, I go back to the comments Dale Jarrett had in the pre-race show. He said corner exit is everything here at Indianapolis, and that's where Denny Hamlin is struggling. Too tight, especially off turn 2. That's where his biggest issue is, and that's where the pass happened on the backstretch for Chase Elliott to be able to get the second spot. Now Hamlin is trying to hold Kyle Larson back there and hold on to the third spot. Meanwhile, a little further back, William Byron is sitting in 7th, and a moment ago, Rudy Fugle had an interesting comment in regards to what you guys were talking about drafting here at Indianapolis. Listen in.
You're running as close and wake as anybody up front. Copy.
So, Jeff, why is it important for William Byron to know, hey, you can run closer to the car in front of you than almost anyone in the top 10?
Well, a couple things. Number one, he needs to understand that everybody struggles with it. He's not the only one out there. It's the magnitude in which you're struggling. So the information to the team is, this is what my car won't do in this situation. And then the team has to go to work fixing it. And how much can you fix it? How much do you work on it? And that information is very difficult for a crew chief to understand, and it's impossible for the driver to understand what other teams are dealing with. And it's just, you're talking about a 1/10 of a second around a 2.5-mile racetrack that you're trying to gain. And you do that with precision, not by taking guesses.
We heard the draft. Steve, explain a little bit more of the draft for us.
Well, to understand the aerodynamics, let's take a look at our Toyota virtual car. This next-gen car has a wake like a boat, but it's much narrower, almost like a jet stream. So if you're trailing and you're looking for an advantage on the straightaway, you can get into that dirty air, that wake, and pull forward. But, Jeff, for downforce, you can move out to the left or even the right on this car.
Yeah, this car is very unique. It's different than any car NASCAR has ever had. Normally, if you move to the right like this on the car in front of you, your downforce got worse. But in this car, you get clean air, and the air runs underneath the car, and that makes downforce. So I think as this race goes on, we'll see the drivers with more options, trying different things, not just trying to get to the left of somebody, but trying to get clean air to the right.
So we're on board with Chase Briscoe in this 14, the highpoint.com camera. Right here, he wants to be in line, the strip lane, trying to draft up, get the advantage. But now into the corner, if the car in front gets all the way to the bottom, which he does, Briscoe has to be very, very careful. Now, I don't think the groove is wide enough to offset to the right yet, but later in the race, after restarts, this is an option to be to the right. It's more comfortable, I think, to be to the left. I'm just not sure if the groove is wide enough here in Indianapolis to allow that.
Dave.
The exit of the corner he just left, too, that's his big struggle right now. It is too tight. It wants to go toward the wall when he tries to put down the gas off the corner. But you guys were talking earlier about cars getting past and then losing a lot of spots. Well, Chase Briscoe started 20th. He's only back to 21st. So when he got passed earlier, that wasn't big damage. His engineer, Mike Cook, told me this morning that's something Chase has really worked on. And last week at Pocono, we saw him do well at that. He got past. He didn't get flustered. He got back in line and held his position. Track position so big these days with this race car and at this racetrack today.
Again, mentioned earlier, Chase Briscoe, an Indiana native from Mitchell, Indiana, about an hour and a half from here.
So we're starting to see kind of some natural separation in the field, almost in packs, like we're racing the Tour de France. We have the leaders and the peloton. So you see right here, that's basically the front 8 cars. Last car in line, Ty Gibbs. Now here comes the next pack, led by Ricky Stenhouse. I think Stenhouse probably doesn't have the best car, and he's stacking traffic up behind him, Jeff. And that's another, say, 10 cars, the end of it being Corey LaJoie, then really the third pack.
Yeah, so now you see right here a move being made. A.J. Allmendinger being passed. Now, can other people get by A.J.? If they can this third group run that second group down? That the guy in the first car, if his pace isn't where it needs to be, it just drags everybody back. Kim.
And AJ does not like his car. He said, I have nothing to lean on. I'm wrecking every corner. When I try and turn the steering wheel, I have nothing to lean on. Any security I had in practice is gone. And AJ asked, how long before we pit? And the crew chief told him, we're hoping for a caution. AJ said, this is such a bad balance on his car. I am going to be the caution.
So, Kim, speaking of pitting, I talked to Billy Scott as we watch A.J. Allmendinger trying to hang on to his race car there, the crew chief for Tyler Reddick this morning. He said, Steve, he would be comfortable running about 40 to 41 laps on a fuel run. But I love the word you just used, Steve, the peloton. So is leading the peloton up front like Tyler Reddick is doing right now a penalty in terms of fuel consumption? And, Kim, is there more with A.J. Allmendinger?
Like we mentioned, A.J. did not have what he needed. He needed more security. And he just was wrecking in every corner. He felt like they're bringing him down 4 fresh Goodyear tires. A big adjustment for AJ and Sunoco Fuel.
You're absolutely right, Marty. Great update from Kim. But leading Rick, you're breaking that air first. So you are using more fuel. Not a lot here. Maybe a lap or 2 laps more than your competitors.
Download the official app of NASCAR and follow the action with free live scoring. There's in-car cameras as well as a radio broadcast. You can upgrade to premium for full access to driver audio channels. Search NASCAR in your app store to download and start a free trial. All right, Steve, DraftKings Sportsbook. It's an authorized gaming operator of NASCAR, and this week new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly. All you have to do is download the app and use promo code SPEED when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, The crown is yours. Steve, you've been holding the crown in our fantasy, so talk to us a little bit about the odds.
Well, the live odds, these adjust as they run. You have Chase Elliott as the favorite, currently running second. Reddick, the leader, plus 450, so 4.5 times your money. Ryan Blaney, 9-1. Byron, 10-1. Logano and Bell, a little bit longer shots at 18-1. And Jeff, I don't know if we've seen who has the best car yet. Everybody's been very patient and been in line.
Yeah, there's a lot of racing left to go. A lot's going to happen. Pit stops, strategies, all sorts of things, restarts. It's really easy to say right now. I see Denny Hamlin peeling off coming down pit road.
And so Denny Hamlin, who was running in the 3rd spot, is going to give that position up to come to pit road as we're about halfway through stage 1. Marty.
Yeah, Rick, an interesting strategy call by Chris Gabehart, who did say there would be some strategy here. Again, just to reiterate, every team has to come down pit road here in stage 1 and make a pit stop. What you have to wonder is this going to drag other teams down pit road. Terrific look at Chris Gabehart as he's watching his driver, calling him into the pit stop for Denny Hamlin, who said his car just got way too tight the longer they ran. And a moment ago, Billy Scott told Tyler Reddick, his driver, who's led every lap to this point, we're about 15 laps from pitting. That would be 8 laps from now. Steve, what do you think about this call by Chris Gabehart?
Well, I think it's going to bring a lot of guys in because at this point right now, you've burned the exact amount of fuel that matches the amount of time for 4 tires. So as we see Chase Elliott, Larson, when the tires are done, the jack drops, the car leaves. You don't have to wait on gas. If you ran longer, you would have longer pit stops, Marty, because the fuel required to fill your car up.
And Steve, so much pressure on these pit crews under these green flag stops to not lose any track time for their drivers. Chase Elliott said his car fired off a little bit tighter than he thought it would, but it was so good the longer he ran. They're going to get 4 fresh Goodyear tires and fuel to make it to the end of here, stage 1. Meanwhile, Kyle Larson here back on the oval after running the Indy 500 in the month of May, said his car was too tight in traffic. They're going to get the fuel here they need to make it to the end of stage 1 and those fresh Goodyear tires.
Marty mentioned running the 5 run in the Indy 500. Qualified 5th for the Indy 500, qualified 5th for this race. As you see, the 11 who had been to pit road is going to get back out in front of these cars.
I think the key to the 11 car here is that he got in clean air. When he came out on the racetrack, look, there's only one car in front of him, Martin Truex Jr. He's way out in front of him. So he was able to get out, no car in front of him, make 2 laps, new tires, clean air, and those were the fastest laps he could make.
And that's not luck. That's part of the plan. Chris Gabehart, most of the teams have a predictor model to tell you where they'll rejoin the pack. Because, Jeff, to your point, that's as important as anything, right? We've seen guys, when they break traffic, they'll pick up a half a second. Just having a little bit of a clean in front. There's Chris Gabehart at the bottom, looking on board.
Riding along with Coca-Cola on board of Denny Hamlin. All right, now, how does this play into Tyler Reddick's hand and their strategy? Do they have to come to pit road here quickly?
I don't know if they have to. Leading the race, he's running pretty good lap times overall. William Byron's, we're going to see. I mean, this is basically what it looks like. Byron's a lap down to the 45 currently. We'll see if these new tires work for the 24. He's definitely right on the bumpers. We see Truex now pit. Remember, Truex served a pass through Kim, so he was way behind the field.
And Truex just needing a little bit more on the rear. He said it was way too free, so they did make a slight air pressure adjustment, Dave.
12 of Ryan Blaney hitting pit road. He said he needs help in the center and the exit turn, so they'll give him an adjustment for that, send him back on his way.
So this right here is what we talked about. So when William Byron, he came out behind the 45 car. He does not have clean air. He can go no faster than Reddick right now. So getting behind him versus in front of him is a big difference. And the big loser so far, Chase Elliott, penalty on pit road.
Yeah, blend line infraction. Steve, tell us what was going on there, why he got that infraction.
So it's interesting because you have to use the warm-up lanes through turn 1 and turn 2, which I think Chase Elliott did. The question has, did he come too far to the right? I was under the impression you could make as big an arc as possible. The argument might be that he actually entered the racetrack itself once you get to that second white line. If we back that up one more time, between the 2 corners, there's 2 white lines on the racetrack. One is kind of the top of the access road. The other one is the apron of the racetrack. Marty.
Well, Steve, this team has been flawless on pit road for a long time. They got a speeding penalty for the first time in 90-plus races last week, and this is what Alan Gustafson wants clarification on, Steve. Right here, he wants to know, was it when we came up in the center of the corner? And right now, they're telling him it was in turn 2. That's where your blend line penalty came from, but Alan Gustafson still wants to talk to officials to understand why that happened.
So turn 2, this is turn 2. The 9's clearly on the access road. Does he slide across the grass? No. That looks good to me. The only thing that could be in question is between turns 1 and 2. Now, I, from races past, don't believe that the 9 did anything different than I have seen. I've seen cars make the big arc, but the argument could be made that crossing over that second white line, you are now on the racing surface. So if you've rejoined the race before the exit of turn 2, we'll get some clarification from NASCAR, but either way, penalty served from the 9.
Listen into the 9 radio.
They need to give us some clarification on this. Where we're at. The verbiage is you don't have to stay below the line in the center of the corner.
So I agree exactly with Alan Gustafson. What is the clarification? You can hear he's not mad, he's not yelling. He needs to understand, because the verbiage of how it reads is you have to use the access lane before you can enter the track. Now, I think the 9 has done what we have seen in years past. NASCAR obviously not agreeing. Marty.
And Chase Elliott's hot, as you can imagine, Steve. He said, I studied the sheet they sent to me yesterday. I did exactly what they told me I could do. So they've told him right now to stay below the white line on the outside right there. Trey Poole, his spotter, said stay below that line. Chase Elliott did it that time, but Chase again saying, I did exactly what NASCAR said I could do on the sheet yesterday. I followed it to a T. He is really upset.
We actually asked this question this morning because we've seen multiple times how this happens, and NASCAR felt they had communicated with the drivers to tell them what the rule would be. Let's listen to Chase Elliott.
I mean, what the They sent out the sheet yesterday, do exactly what they tell us to do.
Yeah, so NASCAR is saying that all 4 have to be below the second white line. Cannot access the racetrack.
Well, the verbiage of the sheet he's referring to is the handout, and the exact term is you must use the access road until the exit of turn 2. That's what's printed on the sheet. So NASCAR feels when he goes driver's right of the second white line, he's no longer on the access road. That would be how they officiated this situation.
watching the Brickyard 400 on NBC. Want to take a look at the Xfinity fastest lap, and it's been turned by Denny Hamlin. Back on lap 26. A time of under 50 seconds, an average speed around this racetrack at over 180 miles an hour.
And those fast laps that Jeff mentioned about in the clean air, I believe is going to get the 11 the lead of this race when it cycles around. Reddick currently leads, but you know, Hamlin's up to 16th, about 50 seconds behind the leader. Kim.
And Drew Blickenserver, crew chief for Noah Gragson, elected to keep him out long because he was making the best lap times of the day. He said, I'll bring you in when they fall off. They fell off. So Noah Gragson in for 2 tires, just a little free going over the bumps in 3, he said.
So we've seen a couple 2-tire calls and short fill. I don't love that call because at some point you're going to have to put fuel in the car, and I think you're going to have to do it under yellow, and everybody's on pit road. You might lose more stops, but we're going to have to see how it cycles through and see just which pit call works the best, Marty.
Here comes Ty Gibbs down pit road. I think you're going to see everyone who has not pitted start to pit through this cycle. Ty actually liked the car the longer it ran, so Chris Gale made the call to leave him out long here in stage 1 with 14 laps to go. Next time coming down pit road will be Tyler Reddick. The interesting part about Tyler Reddick coming down pit road, he's led every lap to this point. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin is only 40 seconds behind, so we'll see if Denny Hamlin will hold the lead or will be Tyler Reddick when they come down pit road.
The gap right now, Hamlin is 41 seconds behind the 45 as we see Tyler Reddick on pit road now, so he will give up the lead. Michael McDowell is in front of the field here at Indianapolis. Marty's coming to you.
Yeah, and Billy Scott just told Tyler Reddick a moment ago, who, when you lead every lap, Rick, as you can guess, did not have any complaints about the race car. But he said, we're going to do 4 tires here. You're going to have to wait on fuel. You see Denny Hamlin coming through turns 3 and 4 right now. This is a long pit road, Steve. I don't see how this works out, that the 45 will cycle anywhere close to where Denny Hamlin is, because he's already on the front stretch, and Reddick's going to have to wait on fuel, and now left side tires as well.
Yeah, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, bottom of your screen, is going to be the leader of this race when this cycles around.
Denny just went by, as a matter of fact, before Reddick was even able to get off of pit road. Now he still has to take the access road.
The difference, though, is Tyler Reddick's car is now full at lap 38. Denny Hamlin's was full at lap 24. So that means under yellow, back to my point about caution flag pit stops, Reddick might be able to do something then. We'll just have to wait and see how it works out. But Hamlin doing a nice job, but now he has a mirror full of Kyle Larson, Dave.
Michael McDowell assumed the race in the 34 car, but now he comes to pit road. His car early on was loose in the driver's opinion. At the end, just a little bit free and clean air, so possibly going the right direction. You do want it to be a little bit uncomfortable here at the start of a run.
And why does everybody not come right away? You're looking for that good break, and that good break would be a yellow. If you're one of these cars that don't have track position, and you get that yellow, you can pit under yellow. Unlike some other tracks, you don't stay on the lead lap, right? Most people, when they pit, lost a lap to Tyler Reddick.
Very difficult pit road to get to. You have to carry as much speed as possible. Joey Logano locking the front tires up to get down to pit road speed. That doesn't matter much under this situation, but if you get in there and you're trying to do a quick fuel only, not change tires, that could put you in a position that you have to, because you may have flat spotted those front tires. In this situation, they're going to change them anyway. But later in the race, if you're trying to play that strategy, the driver's going to have to be a little more careful.
Remember, pit road speed's 45 miles an hour. It's like coming off of an interstate going right into a neighborhood where you've got to back it down immediately. And that's what these drivers are having to do on the pit road.
Well, the 2 of Austin Cindric was unable to get down to speed. He was too fast entering pit road, so he'll have to do a penalty.
And he had a good race car in practice and ended up getting in the wall in qualifying, had to start in the back, and that's Indy. You know what I mean? You start making mistakes and it compounds on you, trying to make it up.
Let's not forget, that's really where Kyle Larson's Indy 500 got away from him. Was a pit road speeding penalty. Looked like he was going to have a top 10 run. Larson looks really good on this run. He's run the 11 down, kind of with a little bit of clean air and through traffic.
Dave.
Corey LaJoie on pit road, Christopher Bell on pit road, giving up the lead, and they were calling for 2 right side tires only to be changed on Christopher Bell's car. So service is complete for Bell. He now leaves pit road and will head back out. No, he's coming in here. Here it is. To the line, and will they change just to 2? That was the plan Bell said his car was just a little bit bad, tight-wise, in turns 2 and 4. So he's changing his line just a little bit. The key here, don't slide your tires, so you have to change the lefts as well. He didn't do it, rights only.
It's really about your position on the racetrack. You know, with cars in front, it's hard to make lap time. Jeff and I keep watching timing and scoring, and the fast car almost keeps rotating around through the field.
Denny Hamlin right now scored second, but he is the first behind Keselowski, who hasn't been to pit road yet. Brad Keselowski comes to pit road. Denny Hamlin will take over as the leader here at the Brickyard 400. And Keselowski now is on pit road. Kim.
And he's going to make a stop right in his box. Keselowski's saying it's good in clean air, but he is struggling in dirty air. They elected to keep him out long. They did tell him you're going to be waiting on fuel. Hopefully we'll be able to leapfrog some of the guys that have to spend longer on pit road at the end of this stage. As you see him right there, waiting on that fuel.
Only 9 laps to go in the stage. And race leader Denny Hamlin has a 2.6 second or 0.2 of a second lead over Kyle Larson, running second right now, just in front of Blaney. Denny Hamlin still holding on to that 0.2 of a second lead over Kyle Larson. Want to take a look at the Toyota driver update, and we'll focus on Denny Hamlin, currently running in the top spot, started on the outside of row 1. The lowest he's been is 36 because of when they came to pit road and did their strategy move. It was early enough that now they have an 8-second lead, well, 7.2 second lead over Tyler Reddick, who had led the first 36 laps of this race. So Steve, how does Tyler Reddick get over the deficit that they had by staying out on the racetrack about 13 laps longer?
Well, he ran long enough that, you know, it's going to be interesting to see. Math says you can do this entire race on 3 stops it seems to be a little bit more advantageous to kind of do it at the end of each stage and one in that final stage. We'll just have to see how the 45 plays it. It's going to be a very complicated kind of mess of traffic with fuel load. We've seen 2 tires and 4 tires. This is one of those chess games, right? Because we're just going to cover it as it goes, because the crew chiefs themselves have a plan. The question is, what is their plan? Where do they think it's going to pay off? Are they looking for a great caution or a lucky break, or are they just trying to gain some track position currently where they run in the race, Marty?
Good eye, Steve. I just checked in with Billy Scott with Tyler Reddick, and I think folks sitting at home might have been like, why are they taking so long on this pit stop to make sure it's full for Tyler Reddick after having the best car early in stage 1? And Billy Scott told me we're trying to eliminate a pit stop for the rest of the race. So by his math, Steve, hitting at lap 37, 13 laps after Denny Hamlin, he can then go to lap 77 range, then to lap 120 range if it stays green like this, and only do this race in 3 stops. You like that call?
Well, I'll let you know when I see where the yellows come out.
If it's the winning call, you probably
I like that he has a plan. So yes, I do like the call, because he said this is what I'm going to do, and I'll adjust if the yellows come out. I know Billy Scott has plan A, B, and C, so I don't hate the plan. I think it's a good idea to try to do something different. All right, the 6 of Brad Keselowski also has a penalty. Let's listen in.
Pit exit violation. They say you crossed over the outer white line there a little bit. It doesn't matter. That's not what their damn email said. Their email said as long as you weren't in the racing line, and I was not in the racing line.
And this is going to be very controversial. NASCAR sent me the latest email they sent the teams, and it says stay off the racing surface. You may swing wide beyond the white line on the acceleration lanes between 1 and 2, but stay off the racing surface.
So there, the 6 has just got its right side tires on what we would call the racing surface, not the racing line, but the surface.
I don't know if I would call that the racing surface. That's the problem with that update.
But isn't that white line, that signifies the apron of a racetrack?
Yeah, but it hasn't for 14 years that we've run the Brickyard 400. I've seen drivers go out there all the time. So, you know, to Jeff's point about controversy, now he sees some big smoke out of the back of the 17 of Buescher. My point is, Rick, I agree that if the line is going to be the reference point, then let's reference the line in the update. So we'll have to see if this information gets handed to all the other drivers, Jeff.
Yeah, just write the rule in black and white.
Yeah.
You can't go above that line, and then there's no question.
Agreed.
This is a vague rule.
So again, the 9 was penalized first. Well, the white car in the front here.
Yeah, well, look at the 5 behind. So the 9's there. He got penalized, right?
Definitely above.
The 5 behind it. You know, he's on the white line, I guess. You know, not in the racing surface. Just make the rule. You can't go above the white line. And everybody understands it.
We see the 11 on this, the final lap of stage 1, and the gap has closed now. Here comes Larson in the 5. A playoff point on the line if you win the stage. And great entry through the turn 4 turn for Denny Hamlin, and he'll come to the green and white checkered flag. Denny Hamlin is going to win stage 1 at the Brickyard. Denny's first stage win here at Indy, and his 6th stage win already of 2024. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 9th, and Noah Gragson rounding out the top 10, all receiving stage points. Denny Hamlin looking for his first ever Brickyard 400, the crown jewel that he has not been able to win yet. And he takes stage number 1, the first step on his way to victory lane. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. And by Credit One Bank. NASCAR American Express card. Gorgeous Sunday afternoon at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we'll see who makes their way onto pit road. It's going to be led by the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin again came on lap 24 for his first stop, but he's leading a long line of cars, Dave.
Ryan Blaney came on lap 27, Rick, coming out of third place now. And on that stop, he took 2 tires, so no doubt they'll get 4 tires here for Blaney. His car was just a little bit free at the end there. He said, I'm faster than the guys in front of me. They're just doing a good job of protecting the 12. Very confident here.
Dave, a playoff point in the bank for Denny Hamlin, top right of your screen. Chris Gabehart said we're going to restart about 10th to 15th. Tell me what you need for traffic. He said I need to be freed up, especially on throttle. Meanwhile, William Byron said the handling was much more manageable. Rudy Fugle, though, going to free him up as well. And Kyle Larson said I, too, could stand to be a little bit freer if I'm going to be in traffic. And they told him you're going to have to wait just a little bit on fuel, some 2 tires, some 4 tires, and Rick, also some cars who stayed out.
Yeah, 7 cars stayed out on the racetrack, so differing strategies will have a different lineup. We're going to be embedded with the 11 and the 14 teams. So Marty and Dave are joining the crew.
You know, I'm pretty much a student of the game.
Another one, my man. So proud of this group. Hell yeah, boys. Doing it at home. That's how you win a race, team. Hell yeah, boys. Great work, D. Yes, sir. Great job, Chris.
I'm kind of patient. I feel like I tried to let the race kind of come to me a little bit more, especially last year or two.
Go, go, go. All the way, all the way, all the way. All the way, go. You would have told me it would have been second 2 hours ago. I wouldn't have believed you. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Wherever I feel like I can make some gains at one particular track, I go study those who are great at it.
It's going to be fun here in Stage 2 to be embedded with the teams of Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin as well. So a lot of you know Chris Gabehart in this capacity as a very successful championship crew chief. But how about Chris Gabehart, the successful driver? Yes, he lived here in Indianapolis when he was driving a super late model and winning a lot of races, I might add, all around the Midwest. And if you have a very keen eye, look in some of these pictures, you'll see Jonathan Hassler as well. So they went to Purdue together, kind of moved to North Carolina at the same time together, and Hassler won last week with Ryan Blaney. So as Gabehart told me, not only it's just his turn to win after going to his buddy winning last week, Gabehart wants to get a crown jewel here at Indianapolis this week, Dave.
Well, let's stay with the racing family's theme. Richard Boswell, the crew chief for Chase Briscoe. His dad, Dickie Boswell, was a very famous short track racer. You've carried on the tradition then from the pit box here, but it looks like you've got a big challenge today. The car started 20th, and Chase hasn't made a lot of progress. You took 2 tires that time, so what's the challenge from here on out?
Yeah, I think the challenge right now is just getting the car driving good for him so that he can be a little bit more aggressive with the car and his inputs, and you know, try to do a little bit of strategy there with some right sides, and a lot of people were thinking the same thing. So didn't gain a whole lot, gained a little bit, but made a pretty big adjustment. Right side tires should tighten us up, and we made a wedge adjustment to help tighten us up. So hopefully that gets the car where he needs it, and we can be a little bit more aggressive from here on out.
All right, go forward in stage 2. We'll keep track of the 14 here. DJ, you're from a racing family too, obviously. What are you looking at?
Yeah, what I'm looking at now is, as uneventful maybe as that first stage might have seemed with the differing strategies, now the drivers are really going to earn their keep trying to get through this, work through traffic if they want to get to this trophy behind me and get their name on there today.
And they'll be up there with you in victory circle. The cars get lifted up, elevator, a lift that takes them up there.
Yeah, so DJ mentioned it. You know, you see McDowell at the front of the pack. He hasn't been there all day. Pit strategy. He's got McDowell there. He's got Nemechek there, LaJoy, Bush, Gilliland. All those guys, they pitted earlier. They didn't pit this time. They did that to get the track position. We don't know what kind of cars they've got, but they're starting in front of this pack.
7 cars stayed out on the racetrack. A different strategy. It's Reddick, McDowell, Nemechek, Logano, LaJoy, Kyle Busch, and Todd Gilliland.
Just to add a little flavor to it, there's several in there to just put 2 tires on as well instead of 4. So there we go right there. That's that mixture.
You ready for a little bit of a brain cramp? I got one more for you then.
Let's go.
The one of Chastain and the 43 of Jones came and topped off at 1 to go. So with 45 to go in the stage, with maybe 1 more yellow, they might not pit at all in stage 2. So other than that, Rick, it's pretty straightforward. Just, you know, everybody's doing something. We just don't exactly know what all the somethings are quite yet.
Well, that's why we have you up here, Steve, so you can spell out all the strategies and say the pros and the cons of why those are happening. The magnitude of this racetrack, it is so big. The whole facility covers 560 acres, but it's difficult for one spotter now because they're not on top of the pagoda to spot around the entire race. So there's 2 spotters for these teams, and we are going to be with Chase Briscoe and his team. Joe Campbell and Justin Bolton are taking care of the spotting duties. We're going to listen to them on this restart.
Much tighter here, so make sure you're leaving yourself room, not driving the bumpers, getting way too tight and having late lifts.
Ooh, little last-minute coaching. I like that. Don't get too close. Late lifts, he means don't drive in, get aero tight, and have to lift on corner exit. That's where you're going to lose most of the time.
So Briscoe restarts 23rd. We're going to listen in.
10 away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's going to be green, green, green here. All 2 by 2. Still all 2 by 2. Still down there, 84. Here's the middle. Middle of 3. Middle of 3. Clear up, 1 inside. Still lined up inside with a 9. He's at your quarter. Push the 10 if you can. There's a gap out the front, lined up bottom. All 2 by 2 here. Watch this 3 wide ahead. Inside still covered. Still covered. Still just all 2 by 2 here. Still lined up inside. Check your mirror.
3 wide in front of him. We saw that 84 of Jimmy Johnson get out of line. He made it 3 wide at one point. There's A.J. Allmendinger in the 16 moving to the inside.
It's a battle trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack. You can make the top work for a lap or two, but when these cars build speed, it's hard to make that outside work. A.J. Allmendinger, it's rough down there. The car's bottoming out. That's what that smoke was flying out from underneath it. Everybody trying to go with him.
Fanning out on the straightaway. We see the 71 of Zane Smith right behind that 16. And now Martin Truex Jr. putting Zane Smith on the outside. Trying to break the draft as they go down the front stretch. Austin Dillon in the 3 tucks in behind that 14 of Chase Briscoe.
Now the single file, kind of that snake down the straightaway. You see a little bit of defensive moves. Big move by the 19 of Truex. That penalty to start the race, still trying to overcome it. 48 of Bowman, and I believe that's the 10. Oh, Noah's in the light gray. No grip up there, Rick.
And Noah drifted up and lost about 3 car lengths on that 48 of Alex Bowman. So now it's John Hunter Nemechek who is out in front of Tyler Reddick, and John Hunter Nemechek has the lead here at Indy. Kyle Busch has made his way up to 3rd. Corey LaJoie, Michael McDowell, Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, all a part of the top 7. Hamlin back there in the 8th position.
Well, John Hunter
stage 1
leads, right? That just shows why the strategy is so good. But the 23 of Bubba Wallace currently below the cut line in playoff points, looking for some points, or a win would be magical. He's the first car on those fresher tires. Came at lap 52 for 2 tires. We're on board, this Toyota on board. Listening to the throttle right there, pretty confident back to the gas, running in the 6th position. I think this is the driver. When I look below the cut line, this one has the most firepower. I had here, Michigan, for sure Daytona. Jeff, there are tracks that I think Bubba Wallace could go to victory lane and get that instant berth in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think this car has more speed than Chastain on a weekly basis. But this game isn't just about who's the fastest. You have to execute. You have to not make mistakes. You have to get points. And we saw Buescher with that tire problem. Dave, you have more information.
Jeff, inconclusive. I just checked with the team. 2 separate left rears have different odd injuries to them. One was the outside of the tread above the sidewall, and the other just recently was right in the middle of the tire patch. Now the set that just came off was fine, so the team has no idea why 2 different left rears have failed on the 17. They're concerned about it. He's 2 laps down already. It'll be a fight the rest of the day.
And he was fighting, as we mentioned, down there at the cut line for the playoffs. He's currently in the 16th spot, but only 9 points above Bubba Wallace.
And Steve, I think the biggest issue for them is that they've had 2 issues with left rear tires. Then the only thing that they can assume is that they've got to put air pressure in it to keep it from failing, and that means the car's going to drive worse. So they are 2 laps down. It's hard to see them finding their way out of this unless they get a lot of cautions at the right time.
Yeah, like at a Darlington, Rick, every caution, everybody comes to pit road. You could stay out, hope to get a few laps back, but here with all these split strategies, 2 down is a really uphill battle.
So we talk about strategies. How do the guys who stayed out under this most recent caution, how does their strategy play out? No cautions or a caution at the right time?
I think for them, they were planning on for a green flag race. They know their pit stops already. What we're hearing from Marty's update on the 45 crew chiefs was that there's a group of guys that they've looked at the race, forget stages, forget complications. If this was going to be a green, if this was a road trip from Indianapolis to Charlotte, we only have to stop 3 times. They've already figured out exactly what laps they want to stop at, and that's why you're going to see Nemechek, Reddick, Busch, LaJoie, and even McDowell. I think you're going to see that whole group stay within a couple or 3 laps of each other every time they come to pit road. Now, you know what messes up a good road trip is construction, and that's basically a yellow flag. That's what happens. You get a yellow flag, it bunches up the field. That's when you have to be able to adapt.
That's very relatable.
Is that road rage?
Yeah,
Is that,
I got that.
That's not road rage.
Yep, that's what happens. You go to your app, you try to find plan B, plan C. Crew chiefs are doing the same thing.
Yeah, we've road tripped together, man. We think alike. Got to find some food on the way.
For Hendrick Motorsports cars out on the racetrack, and the guy who was up front leading the field before the green flag flew was another Hendrick driver, Rick Hendrick. Actually, he was the honorary pace car driver to start the Brickyard 400. Want to get a few updates as we're 13 laps into stage 2, and we'll start with the 7 and Dave.
Well, Rick, we had talked to Richard Boswell about Chase Briscoe and trying to get him strategized to the front. Well, the 7 Corey LaJoie, he started 19th. They took 4 tires on lap 40. That's the only time they pitted. I'm not sure, Kim, which plan that is, but it's kept Clary close to the front. He's now 4th.
Well, for Kyle Busch and the number 18, they knew they had to do something different. Randall Burnett told me they were going to take advantage of any strategy to get us different than the leaders. You're looking at the Cheddar's onboard camera on Kyle Busch. And they also said we were way better than we were in qualifying. Kyle overdrove it, got really free in turn 4. They said they're probably a 10 to 15 place car. Randall just told his driver the strategy we're on is low risk, is what they told Kyle. Marty.
Kim, what a shot in the arm for Legacy Motor Club. John Hunter Nemechek up front, yes, on strategy, but clearly has the pace as well. This team has struggled transitioning to Toyota, but leading laps at Indy, where the boss, Jimmy Johnson, had so much success, that certainly helps. Meanwhile, Tyler Reddick sitting in second right now. Billy Scott told him, let's save fuel as much as you can under that last caution. And Steve, to your point, I just checked in with Billy Scott a moment ago. He said, I think we are good to the lap 78 range. We are still on target to eliminate a stop from this entire race and then pit at 120 for the final time today. How much of an advantage could that be for Reddick if it works out?
Well, with no yellows, a big advantage. Remember, it's 160 laps, so break it up at 40s, 40, 80, 120, 160. So if they're going to 78, still looking for some yellows, Rick. I think the end of stage 2 will be those yellows. They're trying to weave this together, but it's not easy. It's right on the edge of their windows.
Reddick running second right now to John Hunter Nemechek out in front of the Brickyard 400. NASCAR Drive, that is your live race day companion. You can follow your favorite drivers with access to their in-car cameras, or you can choose from alternate camera angles and customize your streaming experience. Visit NASCAR.com/drive. You can download the NASCAR mobile app. Beautiful look at uptown or downtown Indianapolis. And we want to thank Shady Rays for today's aerial coverage. And the caution has come out. We saw the 15, and it looked as though Cody Ware had a tire going down. Sure enough, the carcass is now off of that car.
Yeah, another flat left rear. We've heard the 17 has had a couple of these. This is another Ford. And then the actual tread of the tire finally comes off, putting debris everywhere. This is something we've seen in Indy before. We've seen wear issues here, but we've also seen left side tires. Lower air gains more speed, but you can't get too low.
And we've seen blocking at this racetrack in every form of racing. And right here, Joey Logano got blocked big time by Bubba Wallace, and that almost got big right along with Joey. Well, it's a good thing he lifted.
Yeah.
The good thing he came out of the gas. It was going to get ugly. Yeah. I bet Joey had some words.
That's the only chance he gets. That's bullshit right there. Copy that. Back in your rhythm.
I like that.
Well, he gave him one chance.
Little affirmation, and let's get back to racing. Don't egg it on. I say that tongue-in-cheek, but I do believe there are some radio conversations where I feel like, you know, they could put the fire out, or they could kind of stoke it. And sometimes I think we'd be better off to put some of these fires out.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, you know, to be honest, Bubba don't want to be down there doing that either. But if you let one guy by, you may not ever get him back. So you're just going to block all you can. That was aggressive. That was a bit aggressive. Joey alongside now with, I'm sure, a little hand gesture.
So now 6 of Brad Keselowski will be back on the lead lap. We saw he was one of those drivers that was penalized for pit road exit, not using a warm-up lane correctly. This, you asked, what do you do for strategy? I mean, I really think this throws a little bit of a wrench in Nemechek, Reddick, Busch. You know, they really needed to run like the 78 we heard, which is only 9 more laps. I just don't think you can stay out here, run 9 laps, and then pit. That doesn't work here. Pocono you might be able to because you wouldn't lose a lap. But here you're going to lose a lap to anybody that pits here. So that kind of, you know, how right do you want to be? You know, at some point you have to say, okay, we've hit a little construction on our road trip. Now what's plan B? And I think that's going to be the choice for the 42, the 45. I expect to see a very busy pit road. Everybody needed to stop, or everybody except for maybe Chastain, who topped off, to make it to the end of the stage. So I expect to see a very full pit road.
But this works for them because they have the track position, and if everybody else is going to come, then they're going to keep the track position as long as pit road, their crews do okay.
Well, they need a lot of fuel. So remember, fueling is slow on this car versus tires. So I believe the guys that all pitted at 52 have the opportunity of right sides. These front guys are going to have to put almost a full tank of gas in right here. So this is that fuel tax. They've kicked the fuel tax down the road, and now they're going to have to pay that tax on this pit stop.
Kyle Busch stays out, and a long line of cars coming at you, Kim.
And Kyle Busch elected to stay out. Crew Chief Randall Burnett said we're going to do something a little bit unconventional. We only have to make 2 more stops. We have to make it to our window, so I'm going to keep you out. This does throw a wrench in our plan, but I think it's going to work, Dave.
Corey LaJoie told his team just need a little bit of front turn for better balance. He took 4 tires on the first stop. Does this give them the opportunity for 2? No, it looks like 2 more coming over the wall for Corey. Marty.
Dave, another example that clean air is everything. John Hunter Nemechek out front there leading 14 laps to the car. Felt pretty good on that run. They're going to go with 4 tires as well. And you see Tyler Reddick here, just right sides only, and fuel for Reddick. So strategy all over the map with teams staying out, and look at that traffic jam off pit road.
Race off pit road. Again, the caution coming out as Cody Ware's left rear tire went down, and that tire carcass came off onto the racetrack. Caution comes out. We'll have a restart. Kyle Busch will be up front. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR is brought to you by Ashley. For the love of home, shop in-store or online. Liberty Mutual Insurance, only pay for what you need. And by Straight Talk Wireless. Checking in with the teams that we're embedded with, we'll start with Dave and the 14 team.
Rick, I want to introduce everyone to Mike Cook, race engineer for Chase Briscoe. He's from Tracy's Landing, Maryland, second guy in the picture there with the ball cap on. Mike got his mechanical engineering degree from Maryland, had an internship at Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, and then eventually landed at Stewart-Haas Racing. When I asked Mike what his most seminal moment on pit lane had been, well, he said the 2017 Kurt Busch win at Daytona. There he is. We NBC you, Mike Cook, right in there. Now, Tony Gibson, the crew chief, he got a lot of credit for having such a great celebration, but Mike was right there. He said it was a fantastic win, best win so far of his 6 in the NASCAR Cup Series. Now, his best celebration may happen yet this week, though. I know Charlotte, 6 years old, is waiting at home to go on a Disney cruise with Dad. He's coming home. Wife Meredith will join, and they will have a good time with some of their days off coming up, Marty.
Dave, Joel Bunyan is the jackman for Denny Hamlin, and he has one of the most unique paths to NASCAR. He was actually a running back at Northern Illinois. He had an amazing junior season, 1,300 yards and 18 touchdowns, top 5 in the nation over guys like Derrick Henry. He spent time on several NFL practice squads, including the Green Bay Packers, where he was actually able to score a preseason touchdown and do the Lambeau leap. For real. Yes, that is real, folks. And I asked him, how was the conversion from being an NFL and college running back to NASCAR? He said, honestly, I had to forget my athleticism, Kim. He said it's all technique when you're a jackman, but that thrill of the car coming down pit road is exactly my number being called in the red zone.
Well, Marty, we documented how Kyle Busch stayed out. Here's Randall Burnett, the crew chief's explanation to his driver.
It's going to be a little unconventional, but we got to go till about 77, and then we got to pit. That way we can come in, pit, come back out on the lead lap. Everybody's got to pit twice in this race right now. So what we got to do is make it to our window so we can still do that same strategy.
And Marty, to add to that, he gave his driver the directive, save hard. I need you to keep the lead, but maintain the pace. Easier said than done.
And Kim, at the choose, Kyle Larson comes down pit road. Let's check and see what's going on with the race team, and I'll check in with Cliff Daniels. Looks like they wanted to make sure the right rear was tight for Kyle Larson. Man, pit road at Indianapolis has not been kind to Kyle Larson this year. Also, the 24 came down pit road. The 34, I believe, came down pit road. But yeah, Kyle Larson had the speeding penalty in the Indianapolis 500. Here he is making sure all the lug nuts are tight here in stage 2.
It's unfortunate or fortunate if he can kind of get on this different strategy. Let's go back to the first car, the 8 of Kyle Busch. They're only a few laps away from their pit window, so they need to go and go hard. They need to go as fast as possible to kind of gap this field, because they're really the only car that still needs to come to pit road. So if he loses this lead and falls back into traffic, the whole strategy goes apart, because he'll lose a lap on his pit stop. So it's very important for Kyle Busch. Now for the 5 and those other cars, you have to ask yourself, if we get a quick yellow right here, can he leapfrog onto what Kyle Busch is trying to do, right? Can they start saving some gas? And I really think that's why you saw more than just the 5 on pit road. I actually thought the 5 might have been a strategy call until they started looking at the right rear lug nut. It was obvious to me there was another concern that Marty covered for Kyle Larson.
Yeah, the crew chief on the 8 car, Randall Burnett, he recognizes the situation they're in, Steve. They just haven't had pace. They just have not had winning speed for several months, really, this year. And so he's like, hey, we're not going to win. We're not going to get done what we need to do, just doing what everybody else does. So let's just do something different and see what happens.
And last week we saw really in focus with Todd Gilliland. We were embedded with him at Pocono, and he is the other car on the front row. I thought it was just Busch. I was wrong. The 38 as well will have to come to pit road. So 2 of them almost need to work together. Like, they need to get single file and get this figured out. But Jeff, your point is exactly right. You have to look at the facts. The facts are you're way behind in points. You got to try to get a spark.
And the big picture for Kyle Busch is a 42-race winless streak. That's the longest he has ever gone since he has been in the Cup Series without getting a win. The 2-time Cup champion and 2-time Indy winner trying to change some things here as they come back to the green flag, and we're back underway. Chase Elliott got out of line there in that third line as Kyle Busch. Steve, you said the goal was to get out in front and go as hard as you can until you have to come to pit road.
We heard Denny Hamlin. No, I'm sorry, it was Chase Elliott in his interview that said, well, you just want to be the front of your strategy. Oh, man, big wreck.
Oh, and hit again.
Oh, big
that's
impact.
the 24 of William Byron. A.J. Allmendinger in the 16 involved as well. Caution has come out as those two cars have stopped. And that's on the backstretch after they exited turn 2. Allmendinger is rolling once again. Still waiting for the AMR safety crew to get to William Byron. Over the radio, William Byron has talked to his team already. There's the AMR safety crew getting to William.
We talk a lot about, you know, the fame of this racetrack and the historic nature because it is front and center. But you've mentioned it a few times, this just overall speed. We've seen over 200 miles an hour. A football field a second at the end of these long straightaways. And it's not very wide. I mean, you look, there's a little bit of grass, that soft wall, so you can get more than one hit, right? You can get outside and inside wall.
With these restarts, we've seen how important track position is. And that means on these restarts, that's your time to get it. That's your chance to go make something happen.
Good shot there of seeing William climb out of the car. Here's how it happened.
Oh, somebody got into the right rear of...
Looked like the 22 potentially of Logano behind him.
It looked like there was two
or
cars
12,
two cars or three cars three wide. Let's take a look right here. You see, oh, you're going to see it right here, the 21, 41, and 24. So the 41, if we back that up and watch that one more time, the 41 is trying to get three wide between the 21 and the 24, trying to make it three wide. I don't believe Harrison Burton or William Byron knew that they were three wide. This will be a great look right here.
Oh, they're hitting each other there. So he's in his right rear quarter panel. You're right. It was just everybody, three cars. Here you go. Here's a great shot of it, Steve. So right, stop it right there. Stop it right there. So the 14 car, they are touching those two cars, the 24 and the 14. They're hitting each other there. And still contact, and here comes the 41, and he makes contact. It's just those three cars trying to go in the same spot, but it started with the 14 of Briscoe and Byron making contact.
They were pushing and shoving, and the 21 of Harrison was exiting the corner like he was too wide. He doesn't know that the 41's in there. So, man, this is what happens when everybody tries to fill that hole. But, Jeff, to your point, on board makes a difference. Let's see what happens to the 14, why he loses pace. Crazy. I think he went down to third gear.
Yeah, that's where it all started. Was he lost pace? It's just tight racing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what we said earlier. You just gotta push and make everything happen.
Right. So it's easy to say, okay, who's at fault or what's the cause? Well, the 41 going three wide is the cause of the accident, but I don't blame Ryan Preece, because if you don't try to go in that hole, what do you say, Jeff? You're never going to go anywhere, right? I mean, you could argue that it's too early in the race. You could argue all these things, but the racing in the back of the pack is so aggressive. You almost just have to make some stuff happen. And you see right here, the 5-time Brickyard winner himself, he knows this place. And you see his frustration, and he sees it as like, you know, why is this happening back here? But these restarts, if you watch 20th to 36 on every restart, I can't believe we ever have green flag racing. I can't believe they make it back around.
And we hear that the 21 of Harrison Burton also went to the garage, and if that's the case, he would have been on the DVP, and he would be out of this race if they were behind the wall.
And the fans on the hill going to go take a close-up look.
So the 24 is not going to make it to victory lane, and it happened in successive years as far as 10-year increments. Jeff Gordon won in '94. He won again in 2004. He won in 2014. And the 24 will not go back to victory lane in 2024.
So back to that road trip, back to that fuel strategy. Now the 8, I think he's so close, he's going to have to come to pit road this time. I would imagine we're going to see other people follow. Bubba Wallace, the 38 of Gilliland for sure. It's kind of a split decision because most of the field were only on pit road 5 laps ago. Some may stay out. They might be sick of being back in that traffic and say, let's cycle to the front. The 8 of Kyle Busch, this is good for his strategy, but he's going to have to sit on pit road for quite a bit of time to put fuel. Yeah, look at this. It's going to be a busy time on a narrow pit road.
How many decide to not come to pit road? Quite a few, as a matter of fact.
38 doesn't think he can make it. So when he goes back on the racetrack, Kyle Busch lonely on pit road.
Yeah, long ways back. Kim.
And Randall Burnett told his driver, we are within our window, so we need to take the opportunity to come down pit road. They are going to have to wait a little bit on fuel and make sure it is full. Kyle Busch just saying the back end still a little bit out of the racetrack as they put 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel in that Chevrolet, Dave.
So the 34 of Michael McDowell was already on the, I believe, Steve, I'm right on this, make it on one more stop with the laps left here. And so they will top it off here again. So he was in the back. They could already do it. That'll be a little insurance. Marty, first let's go to you.
Well, Dave, after the issue on the last stop for Kyle Larson and his race team to check the right rear, then they changed left side tires. They bring it down pit road. Really not much to lose here, Steve, for Cliff Daniels to come down pit road here. Pack it full of fuel, 84 to go. In theory, they could do it in one more stop, but their biggest concern is that they are buried way back in traffic after that issue on pit road.
After seeing that big wreck, back in traffic does not make your stomach feel better if you're a crew chief on top of the box.
Kyle Larson definitely doesn't like pit road here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This was the reason for the caution. Big hit for the 24 of William Byron. The 16 caught up in it, as well as the 21. All 3 of those cars are off the track and out of the race. You can join NASCAR's free rewards program and start earning points that turn into member-only rewards. You can earn every time that you check in for a race from home or at the track. Visit NASCAR.com/fan-rewards. All right, let's take another look at what just happened here. The 41 of Ryan Preece.
So I was mentioning the 41 I thought had to take the hole that was 3 wide. Now we're on board with Ryan Preece, and I just don't see the hole. A little wheel out of the 24, but the 21 is right there. There's just not a car width. I think if the 41 could do it over again, he would shove probably the 24, try to get behind him. But when he tries to squeeze between the 24 and the 21, neither Byron or Harrison Burton have anywhere to go. And, you know, he takes 3 parallel lines and turns it into a Y, basically, with the front 2 connecting. It ended the day for the 21 as well. We didn't really see him get towed in. He was able to drive it in. But with the damage to the right front, day over for the 21 and the 24.
And the 16, he's out as well.
Oh, good point. Yes.
This extended aerial coverage of the Brickyard 400 is brought to you by Shady Rays. Just a partly cloudy day here in Speedway, Indiana. As the field all in line, 2 by 2. Bubba Wallace, Todd Gilliland. Bubba Wallace in the 23 on the inside, and it's the 9 of Chase Elliott that's actually on that outside of row 1. And back up through the gears they go as they go 2 by 2 down the front stretch and into turn 1. Good run by the 9 of Elliott as he goes into turn 2. But Wallace surging back on that narrower line. Now a drag race down the backstretch as they get ready for turn 3. Big run out of the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Wallace clears the 9.
Joe Logano trying to get on the outside of Gilliland. He should have a little bit of it. Well, that's going to get taken away from him.
Denny Hamlin on the inside. He is definitely the fastest car on this lap after the restart, as he is up to 3rd.
And Denny called those 2 guys side by side, and that just absolutely destroyed their speed. He took advantage of it. Now the 7 out of the lane.
Yeah, Corey LaJoie totally missed the turn.
Yeah, he's got to get his speed recovered here. He's under attack. Christopher Bell now trying to get alongside. Here comes Stenhouse. He's going to try to make it 3 wide. Bell does not block.
And Stenhouse able to complete the pass on those 2. As LaJoie has got back up to speed, but now on the outside of Bell.
Oh, look at the big block he's trying to lay. And that's what happened. He lost that momentum, and now it's just compounded on him. Now he's in the outside lane. Everybody's trying to draft by him. They see he's in trouble. They know they got to take this spot.
The 19 of Art Truex Jr. tucks in behind the 14 as they go into 1.
And still, Corey is still under attack. Lift, give it up, now get behind Truex. That's all you can do. You know, you try to battle it, but when you're in that outside lane with this many laps on tires, it's just hard to make it work.
No matter how wide you make it. Oh, a big move by Larson, back of the car dancing around. I was getting ready to say, no matter how wide you make the racetrack, they still find their way all the way to the grass. Aggressive move by the driver of the 5.
And Kyle Busch fans, he is running 28th right now. Remember, he came to pit road, but was one of just a few cars that did that strategy.
Well, this is the lead car on that strategy. Of all cars that were full of fuel on lap 76, Kyle Larson leading the way as he passes the 51. Justin Haley, he'll look forward to the 99 of Daniel Suarez. And Daniel actually getting married this coming weekend. Congratulations to Daniel.
Have a little bit of time off with the Olympic break taking place. 2 weekends off for NASCAR's Top Series.
Hey, we haven't talked a lot about Martin Truex Jr. other than the negative, the penalty and the pass-through and those things, but this 19 car showing a little bit of life here as he passes the 14 of Briscoe.
That was a lot of life.
Yeah,
to be able to come off a 3 that low and just roll by Briscoe. He's got speed, Steve.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because his numbers here in Indy don't jump out to you, but I don't know why. This would suit his style in my mind. He's just such a smooth race car driver. Doesn't run into a lot of people. He's won at so many different tracks. I can't believe this one hasn't kind of been on the list yet.
It's interesting, too, as we ride along with the highpoint.com camera, you can see that he isn't on the bottom of the racetrack. Truex in front of him. He's actually above that white line, trying to use more racetrack. Let's see if he does it over here as well. Yeah, look at that. A lot of guys right on that concrete. He's using a little more racetrack, and I wonder, well, number one, I know if he's doing that, his car is extremely comfortable. But number two, I wonder, Steve, if that doesn't help because he's not turning the wheel as much, if that doesn't help his straight line speed some. Kim.
Up with William Byron, who just got released from the care center. Heavy hit. What happened?
We got back there in traffic. You know, it seemed like the pit stop sequence didn't go our way, obviously there. And then the 14 was just being a squirrel back in the pack and drove up in front of me, had to lift late off the corner, got run over. So hate it for our team. We had an amazing car, you know, running there on the right strategy, top 2 or 3, and get back there in the pack and get wrecked. So appreciate everybody, Valvoline, Chevrolet. Great car. We'll go on after the break and try to get some more wins.
So is the blame on that the 14?
Yeah, I mean, he came up in front of me and choked me up, and we're just back there with the squirrels.
There you have it, Marty.
Kim, we've seen his teammate Kyle Larson willing to make some bold moves on the track after being back in traffic. What is the conversation like between Larson and Cliff Daniels under the last caution? Listen in.
Letting you know objectively what I can do if I can't pass anybody.
From now until I tell you, objective number 1 will be to save fuel and pass cars. Both of those could seem opposite of each other, but pass the car, save a little fuel while you're setting up the next guy to pass him, and just try to keep moving forward.
Okay, Jeff, so explain that one to me. How do you save fuel? As Cliff pointed out, it's kind of opposite to do that and also try and pass cars.
Got nothing for you, Marty. That's a difficult thing to ask a guy to do, right? The way you pass cars, Steve, is to be in the gas. You got to be pushing really hard. And the way you save fuel is the opposite, and that is be out of the throttle, let the car roll, use very little brake, but you can't set someone up to make that pass. So you could draft a little bit, you know, behind the car to try to use that to help gain up a little bit, but I don't think there's enough draft to be able to gain on somebody and not be full throttle. So, yeah, I don't know how you do both of those things, but it's more information in my mind of telling him what the strategy is.
Yeah.
Right? We know we're going to need some fuel, but we also need track position. He's just letting him know what's happening as we see a little bit of debris on the racetrack.
Well, I can't give you a grade on saving fuel, but I can give you a grade on passing cars, +7 since the restart. One obvious way is to just not shift, stay in high gear. 38 with a scheduled pit stop, has to come to pit road for fuel. Kim going to be very close to losing a lap.
Yeah, absolutely. They told him as long as he could keep pace, they were going to keep him out. He could go longer on fuel than Kyle Busch had, so they were on a slightly different strategy, even though they stopped last on lap 38. Todd just saying it's just a little bit tight. It's going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires there. We're going to have to wait a little bit on that fuel right there.
So now we see the 38 leave. Remember, he's on that strategy of how many pit stops. We heard the 5 needing to save gas because this is only with 74 to go. The 38 can absolutely make it on only 1 stop from here, but this only works if you can stay on the lead lap. So on the bottom, you see the 38 just now going by the scoring pylon. Still has about 15 pit stalls to go. On the top, Bubba Wallace at speed, nearly 200 miles an hour down the front stretch. I just don't see the 38 staying on the lead lap here, and when he goes down a lap, this throws the strategy out the window. So I understood the plan, but the execution just not what the 38 needs. Going down a lap is going to end this opportunity at a 1-stop from here race.
Bubba Wallace is out front in the 23 for the Brickyard 400, being chased by Elliott Hamlin, Logano, and Blaney. Jr. Again, he had the passenger penalty to start off this race. Josh Berry has gained 17. Wallace, who is out front, 16 positions since the start of the race, and he is the leader here at the Brickyard 400.
Yeah, he's the leader, and we've talked about his point situation. You know, if he can get these 10 stage points, that helps him a great deal. Battling Christopher Buescher, you know, for that spot. And also Ross Chastain. So just any points you can gain is going to matter. There's a lot of racing left in the regular season. You've got to get points when they're in front of you.
So if you look at the last time, the 23 and the 9 were on pit road, lap 52. This isn't a, hey, you know, what's their strategy? When are they going to stop? Everyone's kind of on the same plan now, but the difference is Wallace and Elliott got up there by not coming to pit road, which means they have less fuel in their car. I say that because as we ride on board with Bubba Wallace, we had not seen his right hand come off the wheel. Watch his right hand right here. It stays. I don't know if he's staying in 5th gear or just running part throttle, but a lot of conversation on the radio about saving gas. See right here, high gear the whole time. He's running 5th gear all the way around the track, even off from wide open throttle down the straightaways. I think it's fuel conservation for the 23 and the 9, Marty.
And Steve, after that penalty in stage 1, Chase Elliott, as you mentioned, finally on the same strategy as everyone else, but you also talked about that fuel tax you mentioned earlier. Chase Elliott mentioned the same thing to Alan Gustafson on the radio a moment ago.
I think we got to ease this fuel deal later. I just think if you do it under caution, you're going to be screwed. Just kind of slowly get caught back up. Yes, sir. Understood.
So, Steve, help us understand that as Chase, in essence, saying, hey, let's pay that fuel tax, not all at one time. Let's divide it between these final 2 stops.
18 laps, little over 2 laps a gallon. We'll say he's about 8 gallons less than everybody else. That's going to take 3 seconds. He doesn't want to have it all on one pit stop because everybody's going to be on his rear bumper. So we go back on with Bubba Wallace. Another way to help that is watch that green. That is not a telemetry issue that he's not wide open, Jeff. He is literally running part throttle.
That's what we talked about, the Kyle Larson conversation. How do you save fuel and pass cars, right? Well, here, you know, he's 3/4 throttle. He doesn't have to be wide open. He can run down the straightaway. You mentioned it, Steve, not shift. Look at the brake. Almost 0 brake. Keep the car free rolling so you don't have to build that speed up. All of those things allow you to keep maximum speed without using as much gas, and that's what their goal is right here. And by the way, he's leading the race doing it.
It's great to have the progressive telemetry that is helping us see what it looks like to save fuel. Dave?
And his crew chief, Booty Barker, said, hey, driver, we see what you are doing. You are doing a great job, so achieving those goals there. Remember, these are the first laps that Bubba has led since Darlington back in May, and they're important because, as you mentioned, he's in that points battle trying to get above the cut line and a point situation, 27 behind Chastain as he came in to make it into the playoffs. But this is the way you really make the playoffs. Keep your car in front, win the race. He would be the 13th different winner in 2024. What a competitive season, and they would love to cap it off today and be that 13th winner.
And that win would absolutely turn the playoffs kind of upside down.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace coming into this race was on the outside looking in. He was 27 points behind Ross Chastain in 17th, but now up front, being shown as the leader, would put him 13th in the playoff standings. If he could go on to win the Brickyard 400. Now coming up on 4 laps remaining in stage 2.
A team that's really executed, I think, the best of almost everyone. The 42 of John Hunter Nemechek. He was on pit road at lap 70 like everyone else, but he took 4 tires. So he has fresher left side tires. I'm going to assume maximum fuel. Maybe everybody thought they were full, but if not, the 42 has more fuel, or at least equal to. You know, Legacy Motor Club has kind of needed a shot in the arm. It's been a little bit of an uphill transition to Toyota as they figure out the tools and the technology. We see their owner, Jimmy Johnson, in the field. They have taken on the task of running a 3rd car sometimes. That takes effort, you know, from an organization. And John Hunter, we see him jump over into Xfinity and drive those Joe Gibbs Toyotas on Saturday. Man, he's lights out. That's the guy we know. And I think this right here he is running legitimately 6th in the Brickyard 400. and not by luck or even by strategy. If anything, he has had the best strategy or the most amount of tires.
We're seeing, is that Logano that chose to come to pit road?
All right, so this is the question. Can you stop before the end of the stage and not lose a lap? We watched Gilliland not be able to do it, but they had a slower pit stop because they filled their car up with fuel. Let's see what the fuel requirement is on the 22, whether they maybe only take 2 tires or just short the fuel, Marty.
So see, the time requirement behind the leader was 4 seconds. Both Joey Logano and Chase Elliott choosing to come down pit road. Both cars needing to differentiate themselves in some way from what everybody else will do. And they actually called Chase Elliott to pit road. He will probably come next time, Steve, because he's going to be close enough to the leader to be able to do that. But 4 tires, fuel here for Joey Logano. We expect Chase Elliott the next lap.
10 seconds. They didn't wait on fuel in that car, so as we see the 22 leaving pit road, no one else joins them on a pit lane. They're going to stay on the racetrack. Let's see what Logano looks like relative to the 23 of Bubba Wallace. Here's 22 on that warm-up lane. This is going to be close. Here's Bubba Wallace at speed. You definitely can't run the warm-up lane as fast as you can run turn 2. Bubba is going to come off from turn 2 with a huge head of steam. Joey Logano needs to find every ounce of speed he can out of this Ford with under 2 to go.
And what a great job by Joey on pit road. Team making the pit stop, no mistakes. You can see he's only 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds in front of Bubba Wallace. Any mistake on pit road, Rick, and it doesn't work. You get passed by Bubba Wallace, so great execution by everybody.
And this was really equestrian. Pit road speed 10 miles an hour slower this year, so all the data, Rick, everything you knew from years past kind of out the window.
And remember, they had to come in that last lap because pit road closes with 2 laps to go. Now it's 1 lap to go, so they came in when they had to, were able to execute. They're going to stay in front of Bubba Wallace. That means they'll stay on the lead lap. And when everybody else comes to pit road, they gain track position.
Yeah, again, this is a big day for Bubba Wallace. I thought he did a good job last week executing on other people's mistakes, getting points. Now he's going to put 10 points in the bank with this stage win. We've got a tight point battle at the end of this regular season. It's going to be gloves off. It's going to be fun for all of us. It's not going to be for these guys. It's going to be pressure filled.
And again, Bubba Wallace will get a playoff point for winning the stage, but more importantly, if he doesn't go on to win the race, he gets 10 stage points. And with him being in the position he was in below that cut line, those are very important. Bubba Wallace is going to win stage 2 here at Indianapolis. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, John Hunter Nemechek all in the top 5. That's Bubba's first stage win since 2022. Reddick, Stenhouse Jr., Martin Truex Jr., Bell, and Briscoe rounding out the top 10 in stage 2. So now, as the strategies have all been played, we're getting ready for the final stage of the Brickyard 400 here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Indianapolis has so many exciting events taking place. Of course, in the month of May, it's dominated around this racetrack with the Indy 500, but also this summer, the Olympic trials for the swim team is right here in Indianapolis also, as we get ready for the Olympic break taking place. And then, of course, the Brickyard 400 for NASCAR. We have one stage remaining. Bubba Wallace winning stage 2. Denny Hamlin won stage 1. And now we're seeing who's coming to pit road and who will stay out. Denny Hamlin stayed out. And Dave, they're headed at you.
And Bubba Wallace with that stage win, the 10 points in for stage win that you talked about. Bubba said finally on the radio. Then they got back to focusing. He made it all the way on fuel, which was great. The car balance is good. He was instructed to go on the jack. We'll see if they only take 2 here. Meanwhile, Ryan Blaney, his car was a little bit free, half number loose, a little bit on the exits, Marty.
Dave, during that caution, there was not a word spoken between Chris Gabehart until Denny Hamlin until the very end when he said, stay out here. They last pitted at lap 70. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott told Alan Gustafson, give me clean air and we can do something. He comes in second. Now how long do they have to stay on pit road and take fuel here? The pace still in the 9 car, Rick.
17 cars stayed out on the racetrack as we get ready for the restart and the final stage.
Getting ready to restart stage 3 here at Indianapolis. Denny Hamlin on the front row is crew chief Chris Gabehart. So tell me the decision to stay out there and what's the plan from here?
It's tight, but golly, it's loud here. We need mufflers. It's tight, but in very tight situations, I have a play that it's almost always right. And it's the Brickyard 400. Conservatism isn't going to win, and I'm here to win, so that's what we're going to do.
And DJ, Chris Gabehart did tell me this morning, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win this race. When he says it's tight, he means they're trying to do it on one more stop, but it's really close to do that.
Ooh, I love that strategy. Come here to win. That's exactly what you want to do. You want this trophy. You know, we had a great moment earlier today of the guys that were a part of that first Brickyard 400 in 1994. Great to catch up with some of them. Of course, I see Jeff Burton every week. That's Todd Parrott on the right. Jeff Gordon, the winner of that first race here at the Brickyard in 94. So it was a lot of fun to catch up with. And Rick Mast was also here, one of the drivers, and he was the winner of the pole for the first Brickyard 400, Jeff.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to catch up, and kind of everybody spent about 15, 20 minutes just talking about that experience and being here together to remember it and honor it. It was a lot of fun. It's always an honor to stand with those guys.
30-year anniversary, and celebrating that as we get ready for the restart. John Hunter Nemechek and Denny Hamlin making up the front row. Steve, who has the advantage now that we get ready for the final stage?
Well, if they make it on gas, I like the 11 and the 42, but you can hear the concern and the question mark and the wheels grinding for Chris Gabehart during that interview. So with the fuel is going to be a real big conversation. The 45 of Tyler Reddick had to come a second time down to pit road. Looked like they had some sort of issue with the left front. So he started the race with the best seat in the house. He's going to start here with 57 to go all the way at the back.
2 by 2, and the final stage is underway of the Brickyard 400. Great restart for Denny Hamlin. And here comes the 47, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And if Denny's worried about fuel, when does he start saving? Right now?
Well, I think you need to run a couple laps and let everything get strung out and see who you're racing with, because you're concerned about these guys in the back. You see the 77 teammates from Spire side by side at the bottom. Joey Logano pops down there, I think, as well as Blaney. That's the idea. So if you're good on fuel, always we saw smoke on the 19.
And the 19 into the wall. It looked like the left rear tire went down.
Contact with Larson.
Oh, and another wreck behind him. The 4. Josh Berry gets into the wall.
That's just a chain reaction. It's so difficult to see at this racetrack in front when things start happening. Everybody's single file. It's just very difficult to know what's going on.
It looked to me like the left rear tire blew. We saw that little bit of smoke for the 19.
And they make contact. It was 3 wide for a moment.
Let's listen to the 19 radio.
One car just shoved me out of the way, as usual.
One car. Ross Chastain. Truex is running inside the top 5. Chastain's running 6. Jeff, let's look.
Yeah, see, watch down the back straightaway. They're all contesting this spot. Larson trying to make a move here, contact, and then right here, that puts them 3 wide. Chastain tries to roll behind them, and the contact's there. With Larson, I don't know.
I think the 1 car all the way back that hit him on the straightaway, I believe the 19 now has a tire going down. Unless that's the contact with the 5. I don't know, because there was contact with the 1 earlier.
Yeah, I think that this wreck is because of the contact with the 5.
It's never good when we have to dissect which contact caused the wreck.
Yeah, see, he's in there, and he's got good pace. He's able to keep pace, and then there's contact here. Right there is contact. And that gets him up the racetrack.
Yep.
And now he's along for the ride. I'm not sure tire's down.
Yeah, so he said the 1 car.
Yeah,
so I was looking
at the 1.
Well, I was looking at Chastain, but I'm with you, Jeff, right? That the contact that we saw was with the 5. Then the 4 kind of gets turned around.
Yeah, a lot of damage to the front for Josh Berry.
So they're 3 wide here. Chastain lifts. He doesn't want to be 3 wide on the outside. Rolls in behind. There they make contact. The 19 and the 5 make contact.
Yep.
I don't see where Chastain ever make. Right here they make contact.
Yeah, a lot going on for sure between the 5, the 19, and the 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3 wide down the straightaway at Indy, and you know, it's going to happen, but things happen quickly, Rick. A lot of times when you're in the car, you're not completely sure what happens. Let's ride along with Larson.
Contact there. More contact. riding along with Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I don't think that 19 ever had a tire down. I just think he's out of the groove.
Got up the racetrack, and then behind them, Josh Berry in the 4. Let's listen in on the 19 radio again.
The 5, I was just trying to hold on to it with the one car there. I don't know. I think he thought I was trying to hit him in the side, but I was just kind of hanging there next to him.
So I think he's referring to the backstretch. So if we went back on board with Kyle Larson, I'm talking way back on the straightaway, there's contact between the 19 and the 5, and you know, if you're on board with the 5, it feels like the 19's coming over. What it sounds to me is Truex say, hey, let Larson know, you know, the 1 was running me down there. Truex still hasn't really referenced the 5's contact in the corner, because I see it how you see it, Jeff, right? They make contact, and the 19 goes up the racetrack. Poor Josh Berry, he just, in the stack up, turned around and knocked the nose off him.
Yeah, a lot of times drivers, in the heat of the moment, speak with emotions, right? And he was mad because of the contact on the back straightaway, and that's what he's talking about, you know, because he feels like that's the cause of it. So let's ride through this entire restart, or this lap, which is always crazy.
Coming
See right here,
2.
yeah, there. So now Chastain in that red car on the outside doesn't really have any momentum. Truex muscling his way to the middle. Just aggressive racing. I mean, that's really all it is. See right there, Truex he's muscling his way to the middle, and Chastain's like, you're not taking the middle, and Kyle Larson's like, what is happening? Why I keep get running into the grass?
Grass is coming, guys. I need to get up the racetrack.
What we say, racing happens.
That's it. Racing happens.
At high speeds here at Indianapolis. That was the 5th caution that came out. The 19 involved, as well as the 4.
One hell of a drive there, D8. All right, baby! How about that? Bring it home, baby. Yeah, boy, great job.
I'ma get the people just what they want. Trophies, banners up on their walls. Champagne bottles emptied on floors.
Checker, it's over. Nice work. Oh, yeah, guys. Hell yeah, boys. Going it down home. That's how you win a race, team.
I got a world in my palms, yeah.
After the Olympic break, it will be back to Richmond, where Denny Hamlin will bring the broom to see if he can sweep the Richmond races in 2024. Check in with Dave Burns on the 14 team.
Rick, he's running fourth now. Good strategy. He's on those need to stop one more time strategies. But Chase Briscoe doesn't get to the track, or anybody sees this 14 car without the work of Todd Cable, his hauler driver. There's Todd. He also catches the right front on race day when it comes off the race car. Todd told me he'll drive about 60,000 miles in a year with that hauler going from place to place to place. And he learned it from one of the best. His dad, Tony, was a NASCAR official on pit lane, but he also had another very special job. He drove the Cup Series hauler. Yep, those 60,000 miles that the series would need to have all their meetings in, etc. Tony did that. And then Todd got the bug, and he got the racing in him, and so he joined SHR. One of the very famous haulers that he drove was Danica's number 10, that GoDaddy hauler. And of course, working with your dad, who could have it better? There they are working together. And one of the NASCAR races. Tony's still with us. He's 80 years old, living the good life, according to Todd. His hardest thing now, the biggest stress, where do I eat dinner on any given day? So glad to have them in the family. And of course, his job, so very important to this 14 team each and every week.
60,000 miles a year these hauler drivers put in.
Those guys are they really are the heartbeat of race teams. They do such a great job of getting precious cargo up and down the road, and they also are more than just that. They're part of the race team. You heard he catches tires, and they're a very important part of the race team, and they do such a great job, and they go unnoticed quite often.
Marty, the 11, does this help their fuel strategy?
Well, when I sat down with Chris Gabart to do that interview a moment ago, he said, I think we're going to get an early caution in the stage. At least I hope we do. And the answer is, Steve, yes, it does get them what they need to be able to connect it on just one more stop left in the race. But your phrase, fuel tax, it's very popular here on pit road, Steve. They will have a very long pit stop on that final stop of the day to make sure it's packed full of fuel. But Hamlin has the track position he needs right now.
Well, the advantage for Hamlin is when I look around, all the cars around him hit it on the same lap. So even if they've been a little better at saving fuel, you're looking at a gallon or two. That's not going to be huge to kind of leapfrog. His big pressure comes back. You have cars that pitted around, lap 102 from 15th on back. Blaney, Gregson, Keselowski, and those. And then we have a whole nother group of cars like Reddick here, the Xfinity Mobile onboard. I love this camera on the spoiler cam. The good news for Reddick, the spoiler's still there. The bad news is the track position isn't. He's back at 28th. He's pitted a couple times. He has a lot of fuel on the car, so a timed caution. I mean, there's still opportunities, but in a race where you wanted to keep control after leading early, he's kind of lost control of the race all the way back at 28th.
Pace car puts the field back in the hands of Hamlin. John Hunter Nemechek will be on the outside of that front row. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Chase Briscoe making up row 2, and green flag back in the air.
That was a great launch by the 11 car, Denny Hamlin.
Oh, and into the turn 1 wall early. The 22 of Logano and the 24. It can't be the 24. 84 of Jimmy Johnson.
Well, business is picking up. Clearly, caution before this one. Now this one, all on restarts.
Yeah, third restart accident today.
Yeah, it's just, you can see how important track position is, and you have to get it on these restarts. And it just puts you in a position of doing things you don't really want to do. You may want to lift and you can't. You may not want to put it 3 wide, but you have to. Let's see what happens. A lot of 3 wide guys blocking. It's 77.
The 12. 12 was sideways. Looks like he hit someone.
Yeah, but watch right here. See that in 3/4 of the way back, Hocevar in the middle trying to make it 3 wide. They're coming to the corner. Everybody's got to start slowing down and trying to get to their line. Blaney doesn't know he's there, pinches him off. That's where it starts.
That was Austin Dillon's view, vantage point.
Big impacts for Jimmy Johnson and Joey Logano. Here's Joey Logano's ride. Let's listen. Yep. It happens before you know it in many cases, and that's what happened there. Joey's pointed the wrong direction before he even knew why or what happened. It's frustrating. You're trying to, this race means so much, and just a victim of other people.
Joey climbing out of the 22. He'll go with the AMR safety crew to the infield care center from that last accident. Both drivers have been checked out and released. Now Jimmy Johnson and Joey Logano will have to go to the infield. Well, looks like Jimmy Johnson might drive it back to pit road to see what he can salvage of this. Four-time winner here at the Brickyard.
50 to go in the race, will be 49 to go, and pit road is open this time around. I just don't know. Man, I don't think you can risk. I mean, if you're Hamlin, Nemechek, I don't think you're inside the window. The question, you know, who throws a Hail Mary? Who says, man, we're going to keep getting these accidents, and I want to be the first guy to pit road. I mean, you're looking at, I don't know, 6-7 laps outside their window.
And some of those cars that made contact, the 12 of Blaney, you know, how bad is it? Do we have to pit? You know, he doesn't really want to pit, but do they need to come in and look at the fenders, make sure it's okay? There were some other cars that made contact. Those are hard decisions, Steve, for crew chiefs and drivers.
Pit road's still closed.
I will tell you that if I am, you know, not this guy, I think he has position, but when I look at the back half of the field, right, people that have kind of gone away, like Bubba Wallace in 22nd, you know, what, maybe pit from 22nd if you fill it up with gas right now. You would only need a splash, or maybe you wouldn't even have to come again. Marty, hearing anything on pit road?
Well, I was going to say, you got to think about Tyler Reddick. They just pitted a moment ago. They're way back in 27th. I think Billy Scott is considering it, but I want to go back on the 11 pit box, Steve, and say, what is this moment like as a crew chief here? You're right, they are short on fuel, and I've heard crew chiefs say, I'm working on strategy. Cliff Daniels told Kyle Larson that a moment ago. What are these moments like? What's the communication like for, in essence, a head coach like Chris Gabehart?
Well, the key is that you have had to talk through, you know, what we think our projected fuel numbers are, how much we think we can save, what are those real numbers, how many yellows away we are. I mean, that's really what I'm wanting to know. I'm wanting to know from my engineer, right now when we pit with 48 to go, how far short are we running normal? How far short are we saving the best we can by not shifting? And then I can decide from a crew chief standpoint if I'm willing to risk it. That choice, it's kind of like going for it on 4th down. That's not the engineer's choice. That is yours. That is the head coach's choice. Your job, your career, your name is at the top of that. You have to make the toughest decisions, but you have a lot of people on your team feeding you with information. Dave.
Steve, we saw that the 12 of Ryan Blaney was in and around that incident. Here was his radio, because obviously strategy is involved here at the end. Here was a radio discussion with crew chief Jonathan Hassler.
Honestly, I mean, I don't know what you want to do here, but I think my tires are fine. Copy. We're about, I don't know, 4 or 5 laps earlier than what I wanted to come for fuel. So if you thought you had any issue, that'd be okay to try to gamble and just fix the tires now.
But Blaney assured him, I think my tires are fine, so they are at this point staying out.
Guess what happens if you wait until you feel comfortable?
Somebody else.
You're with everyone else,
yeah.
right? So, you know, I don't know if it's Blaney, but right in front of him, you know, the 8, Kyle Busch, Randall Burnett has already made a couple really aggressive calls today. He's sitting here in 10th. So I'm not saying there isn't a pathway for it, but he's at 10th. He's kind of at the back of the low fuel guys. He's going to have a slow pit stop. I mean, I would probably come if I'm the 8. At this point, Jeff, you talk about trying to make something happen. They're nearly 100 points out of the playoffs. So let's see who's willing to gamble. Yeah, I don't think this is a fake. I think this is the real deal by the front of the field. Hand's been played by Denny Hamlin. This is it. 48 to go. When he crosses the start-finish line on pit road, they're going to try to find about 12 or 15 miles of this gas tank. Dave?
So Chase Briscoe was told, you're going to have to wait because we got to get this pack full of fuel. So Richard Boswell making the gamble here to bring his driver out of 3rd place down to pit road, fill that car full of fuel, give him fresh rubber, Marty.
And Dave, that caution would have bought these teams that came to pit road a little more insurance, like Denny Hamlin and his race team. But Chris Gabehart told me earlier, and he said it on the air, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win the Brickyard 400. I'm not worried about points at all. All I want is a trophy at the end of the day. So 4 fresh Goodyear tires, fuel, but with 48 to go, likely not to the end of the race unless they get another caution.
And you see Denny needing more fuel. How many spots it cost him on pit road?
Restarts have been difficult. This most recent one saw the 84 involved. And now we'll have another restart. We return to Indianapolis. This afternoon's aerial coverage brought to you by Shady Rays. Famed pagoda. Right at the start-finish line here, 10 stories tall. Let's take a look at the accident of the start, this restart.
Yeah, again, it's just aggressive racing. The bottom lane goes, you know, blocking, and then the 77 of Hocevar, he just stays in his lane. They get to the corner, and Blaney needs to get down the racetrack to not be 3 wide. And, you know, it's everybody wants to point the finger at Hocevar all the time, you know, saying it's his fault. I just don't see that here. I think he's there.
Yeah, so if you look right here, I agree. We're looking at the 2 yellow cars. The bright car on the outside is Blaney. The more traditional yellow, that's Hocevar in the middle. I agree completely. You know, I'm not saying Blaney knew he was there and turned down anyway. He either didn't know he was there or mistimed it. But I think the 77, look right here. I mean, he can't really go anywhere. There's a car to his left, car to his right. I mean, you can't always expect the guy to lift. Carson has kind of worked his way in there. I think the 77 didn't do anything wrong.
Even if he lifted, there was still somebody on the outside.
Yeah.
You know, who is going to be put 3 wide, right? It was somebody on the outside.
And Blaney is normally a pretty fired up driver, so if he thought it was Hocevar, I think we would have heard some radio of blame, but I just think even Blaney knows that, man, that's just racing. That's us trying to all get into turn 1.
Cindric was behind Hocevar. Hocevar held that line, but Cindric gave him a pretty good shove, so that's why he got into the middle. We get ready for the restart. That's Ross Chastain up here on the front row with John Hunter Nemechek on the inside.
Nemechek has his hand out the window, see him waving. He's wanting Bowman to see that, to know when to go. That way he can push him. Here comes the push.
And the 5 looks to the inside in that 3rd row on the inside lane. Not able to do anything with it. And a big launch for Ross Chastain on the outside of row 1. He takes the lead in the Brickyard.
And how about Alex Bowman in 3rd? What a 3-week stretch. The big win at Chicago, a great run last week, and here he is again.
More 3 wide action. Gregson with a big push to Chase Elliott.
And there's that 77 of Hocevar.
I mean, look at this mix. Hocevar, Gregson, Reddick, Haley, Brad Kay. We got all kinds of new players.
Chastain, Nemechek up front. As you mentioned, Bowman on a heater. He's running 3rd. Larson, Elliott, top 5.
When we say be the leader of your group, that's what Ryan Blaney has done. He's the leader of the cars that were just on pit road as we see more battling farther back in the pack.
These last 2 restarts have not gone well for Ricky Stenhouse, losing a lot of spots again on the outside.
Ooh, Todd Gillen with a big move to the bottom 3 wide. More pushing and shoving behind him.
Wow. Kyle Busch all but in the grass.
Briscoe got into the back of that 8 as he was trying to come back in front of him. A little more contact there through the short chute.
They do not leave each other space, do they? I mean, when you get on the outside, right on the door of the leaders, you see a big single file train. So many different agendas, different strategies, balance of race car, fuel loads.
Chastain, Nemechek, they were last on pit road. As a matter of fact, Bowman on the same cycle, last on pit road on lap 70.
Impressive move by Suarez, 3 wide, and was able to pull it off.
Stenhouse is struggling. That outside car, he is in the way right now. His car not doing anything like he needs it to.
Running 25th. We had mentioned after the restarts, 20th to 30th, it is a dogfight back here.
It is, and it's, you know, like I said, the agenda thing is really what makes it even more confusing.
Chastain and Nemechek separated by about 0.3 of a second. So Steve, because they came at lap 70, the earliest that they would come would be in maybe 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah,
that would make it.
Yeah, so, you know, we're talking like 40, 41, 42 laps. So I really think the final pit window is open. As you see right here, we'll be coming around at 42 to go. I think that's what they can all run under green pretty reasonably. I mean, give or take a quart of gas. So now the question is, you know, how soon do you come? Remember, you will lose a lap to some. The front 2 or 3, even 4 cars could probably pit and not lose a lap. But your concern is you see Chase Elliott only 15 laps since his last pit. So if he runs long, he would hold you down a lap, right? You kind of want everybody to come at once. And I don't think they're going to get that. The real winner in my mind, if you look down here, is let's look at this group. 5 laps since they were on pit road for Blaney, Gibbs, Smith, and Hamlin. Now remember, they were short. We've had some yellows. We're not exactly sure where they've stacked up. We'll just have to wait and see as we continue to run.
So again, Ross Chastain is out front. Ross is one of those drivers who's still looking for a win in 2024 to see if he can lock himself into the playoffs. John Hunter Nemechek with Legacy Motor Club running in that 2nd spot. Alex Bowman has his win and is locked into the playoffs. Kyle Larson back at Indy after the last time he was here. He was in an Indy car running an Indy 500. Let's go through the field, brought to you by Xfinity. And Marty, will start with the 9 car who's running 5th.
It's been a scrap for Chase Elliott today after the early penalty, Rick, in stage 1. Here they are in the top 5. What's the plan for the rest of the race? Listen in.
Is fuel savings of any importance at this juncture or no?
You've got the best fuel of everybody in front of you. If you can save, save, but if you can push them, push them. 10-4. We need as big a gap to the guys who pit as we can get because they will only take fuel under green.
Boy, Kim, it's a fascinating mix of what drivers are having to do today. Save when they can, but push when they have the opportunity as well.
And for 6th place runner Noah Gragson, he celebrated a birthday on Monday. He turned 26. I asked him, did he do anything special? He said, you know, 26 is not a big milestone. What would make this birthday week even bigger? Would it be a strong performance, even a win here at the Brickyard? This team has made small gains from Friday to Saturday. Right now, Gragson just saying he's running a little bit tight, Dave.
2 top 10s so far this year for Carson Hocevar, and sticking with it at that last restart. No damage that he knows of on the race car, trying to make it to the end. Luke Lambert thought they had a pretty good car, even though they qualified 28th. He still felt like it was good balance for Hocevar. If he could just find a way to the front, Marty, he's found it.
And Dave, I would bet those who pitted at lap 70, including the top 3 drivers and the top 4, really with Kyle Larson, would come very soon. Tyler Reddick, though, pitted last at 107, and in a game of seconds, Kim, they have a little fuel advantage over everybody else.
What a rebound for Brad Keselowski and the 6th team after they got that blend rule violation earlier in the race. Keselowski all race long just said, the car is really good. I just struggle in dirty air. He runs in the 9th position. Behind him in the 10th position, Justin Haley. Justin, an Indiana boy, grew up in Winamac, so this race means so much to him, and a big day if he's able to finish top 10, Dave.
The 48 of, you see John Hunter Nemechek there in the 42. There is the 48 of Alex Bowman. What a wild day. He had fire and smoke in the cockpit earlier, had electrical issues going on, but now has been up to the front of the race. This will be his last stop for Alex Bowman, Marty.
So as soon as the window opened, Ben Bayshore called John Hunter Nemechek down pit road. Not only have they had terrific strategy today, they've had pace as well in this Legacy Motor Club Toyota. John Hunter coming down pit road. Steve, the window just opened to make it to the end of the race as you see 39 to go.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you sit there and you wait on fuel. They do a nice job. You have to get it full, but they will lose a lap, I think, to some cars. The 5 for sure, which is going to end up being the leader, although he is only a couple laps away from pitting. I think the 9 is the car that really everybody should be concerned about because he can run quite a bit farther on fuel. They do a nice job. They stay in front of the 5 so far. The 5 might get him on the back stretch. Yeah, there you go. So now the 9 is really their concern. Kim.
And for Ross Chastain, this team needed a big day after coming in the last position on the playoff grid. Ross said, I need more turn. It feels like the rears are bouncing, but I would still free it up a little bit when I come in.
And you got to make sure when you come onto pit road that you get down to 45 miles per hour. Ross did it just a little bit late.
Well, we see how close it's been to get to pit road and not lose a lap. Ross with, I mean, that has to be 200-300 feet of right front lockup.
That was Ross getting onto pit road. And now Larson on pit road, Marty.
Here comes Kyle Larson down pit road. So these are the ones that pitted at 102, have a little bit less fuel. They had to come down here, but with 37 to go, they should be able to make it all the way. Remember, Kyle Larson had the issue earlier. They did not get the left rear tight on the 5 pit stop, so they had to come back down pit road. So Larson will make his final stop of the day. And also of note, Ty Gibbs has radioed in now a couple of times. He is near the cut line in the playoffs that he has an engine issue in the 54. Remember, last week at Pocono, they lost an engine for Ty Gibbs after starting up front in that race. And today, another engine issue possibly for Ty Gibbs. At this moment, plus 49 above the cut line for Ty Gibbs. We'll see how that plays out for the rest of the race. Meanwhile, here comes Chase Elliott down pit road. We'll see if they have a little bit quicker pit stop than everybody else. We talked about the small advantage they had over everyone else who pitted at 102. They last pitted at 107. Tyler Reddick following down pit road, and a caution, Rick, maybe on the racetrack. Martin Truex Jr.
Martin Truex Jr. up toward the wall, and the 9 was on pit road already, so when pit road closes, he's already there. He can do his stop.
Yeah, and he shouldn't lose his lap now because the rest of the field has slowed down. The 45 of Tyler Reddick, same situation. So you just have to be scored to the pit outline or the start-finish line, depending on where you're pitting. I think both of those cars are past the start-finish line, so the pit outline would be what matters. There's the 9. He scored. That'll be the lead lap for him. 45 of Tyler Reddick has also scored, lead lap for them. So with Noah Gragson leading the race, the 9, the 45, and all the other cars we saw on pit road will remain on the lead lap.
Big advantage for them, and another tough situation for the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. He was trying to roll. You can see the left rear tire is down on that 19.
Yeah, he was about 3 seconds off pace, you know, after that damage. So car just wasn't right. Ended up rubbing the left rear and cutting it.
So that brings the caution out for the 7th time. Advantage who, Steve?
If I could be a car right now, I think the 12 of Ryan Blaney is in a really good spot.
And Kim is with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson, part of that earlier caution. What happened?
Don't have a good idea. I had contact from the right side and got turned around in the outside wall. It's unfortunate for Carvana. I'm eager to give them a great run. They've been such great supporters for me. You know, we just had a very solid performance. Drove from 33rd, almost into the top 10. And unfortunate, just some aggression on this restart, I guess, here on the screen. And I got right reared and around I went. But you know, we'll be back. So happy to see some Legacy Motor Club cars running up towards the front. John Hunter's doing a great job. The Family Dollar Tree vehicle. And we'll see how he finishes.
No luck for 4-time Indy winner Jimmy Johnson.
I had a conversation with Jimmy this morning about the race team he's part owner in, and he was talking about the changes they're making, the effort they're putting in. They're not where they want to be, but he feels like they're going to get there, and they're committed to making the changes, and he was really excited about it. I mean, he was telling me that, you know, he's spending a lot of time, more time at the shop. He's spending more time in planning and organizing and making changes, and he was super excited about it.
Marty.
And we mentioned the engine issue for Ty Gibbs. He is here on pit road. The hood just went back down, and man, it does sound absolutely sour. You see the engine tuner for the 11 team of Denny Hamlin trying to come and check and see what's going on and diagnose the issue. As of this moment, and it sounds terrible when it leaves pit road, they're plus 48 above the cut line, but not much you can do when the cylinder starts to go down here towards the end of the race, Steve.
No, there's really no fixes unless you're lucky enough it's a spark plug wire or something to that effect. That's kind of what you open the hood maybe and try to diagnose what cylinder it is, but now you just hope that it can get to the finish.
Another one out of the race. Joey Logano is with Kim.
Yeah, Joey was part of that same incident as Jimmy Johnson. Let's see if he's got a different perspective. What do you feel like happened during your incident?
I tried to watch a replay. It seems like they were 3 wide, a couple rows behind me, and the wreck caught me. Unfortunately, it's I guess I can watch it one more time here. You know, looks like Hocevar sent it down the center and just kind of stuffed it in there late. Seems like something he's done a lot recently, and unfortunately, it's caught up to me as a right rear Jimmy into my left rear and nose our Shell Pencil Mustang in the wall. It's a bummer. You know, you come here to Indy once a year and all you dream of is kissing the bricks, and my team gave me a really good race car, and we were the leader of our strategy, and that's kind of all you can hope for, right, is get to the lead of your strategy. And we were going to have a shorter pit stop. We were trying to gain some spots on the restart. As a lot of guys were kind of staying out and trying to connect it, we can have a shorter stop than them, and that was when we were going to cycle back up to the front, hopefully, and we never got to see it through.
So unfortunate for that Penske driver.
We hear a lot of the same storylines from all the drivers, right? I needed to be the leader of my group. I needed to do, you know, be the leader of my strategy. I think they all, you know, they don't need to understand kind of which group they're a part of. That's not their job, really. That's the crew chief's job to figure out. All you can do as a driver is try to race the cars that are on your plan, right? You'd be at the front of it. If you're lucky enough to be, the last thing you want to do, Rick, is be on the absolute right plan and be the second best car on it, right? That's what you want to work out. So when you see Gragson, Hocevar, Keselowski, they were on last on pit road at lap 102. Ryan Blaney on pit road at 112. You hear him shutting his car off, saving gas.
We won't see them back on pit road, right? They're going to try to make it.
The 112
stretch
guys.
it.
Yeah, they're going to try to go 48 laps. The front 3, I think, have to pit. Hemrick probably is going to have to pit as well. Whether they choose to pit now or later, I could make an argument that you run a little bit longer, but I don't believe the 12 is going to pit again, Dave.
Ryan asked, have I saved enough? Crew chief said, I don't think we're in the clear, but I think we're going to be okay. There's your answer.
Yeah, I mean, 5-ish laps short, maybe 4.
Well, one thing for sure, cautions are helping.
Yeah.
I mean, because his car is shut off. I mean, right now, it's not running, not burning any gas whatsoever. He'll fire it up, roll a little bit, shut it back off. You get a few more cautions, and by the way, we've seen that you get one caution that tends to make others.
Yeah, so you're going to see the front 3 pit, Hemrick as well, and it really, oh no. Looks like Brad Kay's going to stay on the racetrack. There's some guys we haven't talked a lot about that are on the absolute right side of this, right? Zane Smith jumps to mind. So it'll be interesting how it plays out. Kim.
And for Noah Gragson, the biggest complaint all day has been just so tight. They have not been able to turn. So 4 fresh Goodyear tires is the call after the last 2 stops. They took 2. It's going to be a little bit of a weight on the fuel. And Noah Gragson completing his stop, Dave.
Car's been good for Hocevar. He brings it to pit lane, though, because he has to have fuel. They're going to put tires on it as well. We saw how aggressive he can be on restarts. It'll be fun to watch him coming from the back. 2 right sides.
Again, the reason for this, the 7th caution, was the spin by the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. And so the restart with under 32 to go when we come back. It is a party here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the crowd's enjoying this Brickyard 400, the 30th anniversary of the first. After the Olympic break, it's back to short track racing, Richmond, and we'll be on the NBC Sports app for Cup Series practice and qualifying at 4:30, and then on Sunday, countdown to green at 5:30 on USA, and 6 o'clock Cup Series racing. Morning.
Rick, Denny Hamlin sits in 5th, and Chris Gabehart wanted to reset the playing field for his driver. Listen.
I'm not entirely comfortable yet, but I think we can make it with savings if needed, and one more caution and we're good. So I wanted the ball. I didn't want to go out back and pray.
I wanted the ball. He has promised to be on offense all day long. Chris Gabehart so far has delivered on that. He has his driver in a good position. Hamlin is close on fuel, as you heard him talk about, but he also has some drivers to pass as he sits in 5th, Rick.
The bit of information as a driver that I need is who else is on my strategy. Blaney, that's what I needed to know. Blaney is on the same strategy that you're on. We don't think Hemrick and Keselowski can make it. They're on a big gamble here. You need to find a way to get in front of that 12 car.
I'll add Zane Smith to the outside of Blaney on the same strategy as well. Now, the 12 car might bring up some bad memories for Hamlin since it was just a week ago where he couldn't get by the 12 in the closing laps at Pocono.
Well, that 12 also a little shell-shocked on the whole fuel mileage situation from Gateway, where he ran out of gas at the white flag lap. So Ryan Blaney, I'm sure, trying to save as much as he can. As we get ready for the restart, it'll be 31 laps to go. Keselowski in the 6 drifts up the racetrack in the short chute. He takes the lead. And here comes Blaney.
Zane Smith in that 71 car, he went to the bottom and got in front of the 11 car.
So Hemrick trying to hold on to 3rd right now, but that fight between Hemrick and Smith, 3 wide behind him. They were all able to get through. And Keselowski, he's not worried about saving fuel right now. He's trying to pull away. Fighting for spots, the 47, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has Suarez on his outside. Big aggressive move. As Tyler Reddick tries to go by, we hear him shift.
Reddick last on pit road at 124. Fuel's not a concern. It's just speed, pace, aggressiveness. Try to push the cars. Don't allow them to run their own race. He's doing a nice job right now. Up into the 13th spot, looking at Suarez.
Keselowski last pitted on lap 102. No way he could make it to the end on that amount of fuel. So is he running hard so that he makes everybody else run hard?
Running hard and probably putting his last set of tires on closer to the finish. They know they're upside down on strategy. Maybe they'll get a caution where half the field will pit so he can kind of leave pit road with some track position.
Kim.
Yep, Steve just called it. This team is banking on some kind of caution in the next 29 laps. They cannot make it on fuel by the math. Maybe if we get additional cautions, they'll have the opportunity to get fresher tires than anybody else, or even if we get a string, depending on how they roll this gamble, stay out and stretch that fuel even more. I don't even know if that's an option, Steve. How many caution laps would they need?
I think it's really outside of reach. I mean, they would need 20 or 25 yellows by my math. I spent some time with Matt McCall earlier, although you see Brad half throttle down the straightaway, saving all he can, because even if they come to pit road, you want to put less fuel on board. When I was talking with Matt, he seemed upbeat. You know, it's been an up and down year. They did get that win finally for Brad as an owner driver, but he's like, man, every decision I make is the wrong one. If we pit, the caution goes the other way. If I stay out, the caution doesn't come. And I know what he means, Jeff. You know, a lot of these gambles are calculated, but they're still a gamble. And some days it's like, no matter what you do, you're on the wrong side of the coin flip.
Yeah, as we follow along with Brad looking at that telemetry, he's saving fuel in a different way. He was actually wide open leaving the corner, but then he would run halfway down the straightaway and then have a bigger lift. Completely different style of saving fuel.
Look at the pace of the race. It's a half a second slower than what we were running earlier on basically the same amount of tires. So, you know, and that's because Brad can save because Blaney wants to save. Blaney can save because Smith wants to save. Like, if the guys controlling the race are all patient then it works. You just need somebody to kind of push the line along.
What didn't work was that restart for Denny Hamlin. You know, he needed to get, and he did not need that 71 of Zane Smith to get between he and Blaney. Now he doesn't have one car to go through. He has 2 cars to go through.
5th gear all the way for Denny Hamlin. The shifting has stopped. Watch down into turn 3. Lift nice and early. No downshift. I don't want to make it sound like a Sunday drive, but he seems pretty content at the pace that they are running. Marty?
And look how much he's out of the throttle. Yeah, once that restart did not work out a moment ago for Denny Hamlin, Steve, Chris Gabehart told him on this lap coming down the front stretch, I need for you to start saving for me. Remember, they are right on the line after having last pitted at lap 112.
And the reason you save now is any fuel you use right now is just wasted. Where's he gonna go? I mean, maybe you can get by Hemrick. You're not racing Hemrick. Hemrick has to come to pit road. The next position for Denny Hamlin is Zane Smith, 2 spots in front. Well, it's just not worth it. It's not worth, you know, it's not worth the fuel you would burn to try to push those guys.
Yeah, and Christopher Bell behind him is not going to push him because he's saving fuel as well. Gilliland behind him is saving fuel. So all of these guys are kind of in this together.
When is that magic number of you got to have the green light to go get them?
So for Hamlin, I think it's when Hemrick leaves. So there's no reason to push to Smith if Hemrick's still in your way because you don't want to burn fuel passing the guy that has to pit anyway. So I think he's going to run and run and run until either A, he saves so much that Gabehart kind of unleashes him and says, we're definitely good to go. B, you get a yellow that forces you to save enough gas. Or C, you get Hemrick out of the way where you can then go get the positions that matter. If we vacation together, Rick, and we're all going to check a bag, that's fine. If you don't carry on and I check a bag, we're going to be mad when we get there, right? We all have to have the same plan.
The problem with Hemrick, he could go past lap 150. So that's not enough laps for then Hamlin to try to go up there and catch Blaney.
That's why he's saving now, because I don't think it's hurting him to save. I don't think he's losing time or position.
So the guy that is not saving, Kyle Larson, he pitted on lap 123, and he has been passing several cars, and he is about a half a second a lap faster. So that's a guy that can mess his strategy up if he could make some passes, and if he could get up there, then he's going to pick the pace up of everyone. Right now, though, he's having trouble getting by Priest.
There's your answer, Rick, right? To Jeff's point, Hamlin needs to go when he has a chance to pass, or when you're going to be passed.
Yeah.
You're going to have to finally go.
Dave.
Ryan Blaney is in second. He is on the lap 112 last pitting plan. His crew chief is Jonathan Hassler. Yes, that's champion crew chief Hassler. He's from nearby Greencastle, Indiana. A home win would be great for him. How does he get there from here? He says he's doing really well, the driver, as he talked to him over the radio, on the fuel saving. So just a little bit to save, and they'll get there. He believes they can do it, Marty.
Dave, while we're talking about all these drivers saving, they called it a Sunday drive a moment ago, but Jeff, there's a lot going on behind the wheel. Yes, Denny Hamlin trying to save fuel right here, but Chris Gabehart told him just a moment ago, he said, listen, whatever you do, I need you to save me that fuel. Do not let your teammate Christopher Bell buy you. So saving fuel while also keeping track position, Kim.
And for Zane Smith in the 3rd position, they're on that 112 plan that Ryan Blaney is also on, and a great gamble by crew chief Stephen Dorn in his rookie season as a Cup Series crew chief. They gambled back in Nashville, got career best finish for Zane Smith in the Cup Series of 2nd. And Stephen's been honest. He said there's challenges he did not expect being a younger, newer crew chief with a younger, newer driver. Stuff he took for granted when he was with Kevin Harvick, and he spent so many years with that 4 team. But he said he has learned so much, and it has made him a better crew chief.
It's a great update by Kim of what it's like to try to figure this out as you go. And as we see Brad lead and Blaney, look how close the cars are. I mean, Brad had stacked this field together.
And we saw a big run by Denny Hamlin, and he decided not to make the move. That's to save fuel, right? He's letting Hemrick kind of pull him along around this track.
Well, they're running 52-second laps. Look at the total speed. They're down almost to 160 miles an hour in the middle of the corner. Let's look at top speed from the leader. I'm looking up here at the top of the pylon. We saw nearly 200 miles an hour earlier in the race. I bet you don't see 194, 193, man, maybe not even 190. They're 2 seconds slower than they can run. We have seen low 50-second laps. They're running 52 50s. It's a narrow racetrack. They are just stacking the air up, not letting anybody move.
And you would think that would be advantageous for a guy like Kyle Larson, who is on the gas trying to go. but we haven't seen him make a lot of moves.
That's right.
So Keselowski is the Pied Piper, leading everyone around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The guy with the most fuel is the one who is pushing it. And we just see Kyle Busch now go back by Kyle Larson. So Busch doesn't have as much fuel as Larson does, but Larson is pushing the pace. He has moved up to 8th. Kyle Busch just took 7th away from him.
Yeah, well, Larson is the one making the moves. He's been very aggressive late down the straightaway as everybody else is trying to save fuel. He turns out late. He's made a lot of passes. He had a pass made on Gilliland, and then Busch saw it happen, saw him too wide, made it 3 wide, took that spot back, and Larson is so frustrated right now. Not that Busch did anything wrong, but now he was going to be right at the 20 car. Now he's got to go back by the 8 car, and the laps are winding down. He's got to make these passes quickly. Watch this move right here at the end of the straightaway.
Marty.
Time running out at Indianapolis, and yes, it's been Kyle Larson, also Tyler Reddick towing him through the field as well. But before this restart, Cliff Daniels told Kyle Larson, go on offense. Listen in.
But we are right now over 1 lap to the good on fuel to the end of the race, and as it stands right now, a lot of those guys think they are a lap short if it were to go green. Offensive things that we can do is only going to, help put them in a worse spot of having to go hard and burn more fuel.
And there he goes for another pass, now up to 7th for Kyle Larson. Steve, are they in the best spot? Obviously, as Cliff Daniels told him, we're 1 to the good. Don't worry about fuel. We can run hard to the end.
Well, they're obviously in the best spot for fuel, but, the pace has dropped so much that I just can't believe that Blaney, Zane Smith, and Denny Hamlin, I believe they can make it to the finish. So if 2nd, 3rd, and 5th can make it to the finish, then for Larson, he's got, and Bell, I'll add Bell to the list as well. I know that you would think with a slower pace he should be able to overcome it, but he hasn't really. He's passed a couple. We'll see if he gets by the 20 or the 11. I think the 11 is really the benchmark for the 5. If the 5 can get by the 11, then we'll see how much pace the 12 has up there with the lighter fuel load.
Well, Denny's not going to let the 5 by him.
You say that.
Those two don't play well together on the racetrack.
Well, I don't know if I would say the word let, but he also can only drive to what he has, as we see now with 15 to go.
You see everybody's blocking the bottom, taking that away from Larson. Larson just got to the point where I'm going in here, and whatever happens, happens, and that's what you have to do. Now Larson's to Hamlin, and those blocks, Larson's just not having it, and he is driving it deep in the corner, putting those guys in a bad situation. I think it's a different ball game right now. I think Larson is in control of this race.
Radio to Hamlin, that's enough. They've seen enough. They've told him to go. At this point, they know he has to keep the 5 behind him. So now the 11 has this trouble. Can he just turn the wick up? Right now, off the pace, he just doesn't have the speed. Hemrick is a problem in front of him. You see Chris Gabehart, he knows the 5 is the race. You see him reach up on the radio, talking to his driver. We have to make it happen. I agree, Jeff. They know the 5 is in control. If you let him go by you with more fuel, you'll never get another chance to get back by him.
Look at this. Look at Larson once again. Late move. That was a little too late. Hamlin knew it. Larson's not going to take it. You can see what he's willing to do.
How can Denny defend, right? I mean, what else can he do?
All you can do is try to get as low as you can. If you know he has a run, like right here, you're looking in the mirror. See right there? He's like, all right, take the outside. And look at Larson. He's like, nope, I'm coming on the inside. Hamlin missed the bottom. Now Larson tries to drive. Can't get there. But see how early Hamlin had to enter the corner. Larson was able to stay out later, get to the bottom later. That means he has forward momentum down this front straightaway.
We'll see if he tries to make the pass as they go into turn 1. Larson putting the pressure on the front 5.
So you see Hamlin now not only looking out his camera. Oh, no.
There we go. See, that time right there, what Larson did was he lifted early. He lifted early. Hamlin drove in deep. Hamlin got tight behind Hemrick. Larson had forward momentum on corner exit. That is great driving by Larson.
Now Larson needs to get by Hemrick, and the 11 continues to save. Blaney is the target way up there of all the cars that have a chance to make it. I don't believe it's Brad Kay. I don't believe it's the 31 of Hemrick. It's Blaney, Zane Smith.
Look at Larson. Look at that late entry. He's able to really stay out. He's got a big run on Hemrick right here.
He's to the back bumper. And he's made some aggressive late moves. He's going to stay higher, though, this time as we see Hemrick go down and try to go by that 71 of Smith.
He's got to get to 71 quickly. He's got to get by him. Zane did a good job of recovering. But here comes the 5 with good momentum on the corner exit.
Down the backstretch, Larson closing the gap. He'll look to the inside to pass Zane Smith.
And look at Blaney. Blaney's trying to get by Keselowski. He knows Larson's coming. This is getting good.
Coming up on 11 laps.
Last radio communication to Blaney. Do what you got to do. If we've saved enough, this is, it is what it is. They know that Larson is coming. You can't, you don't want to try to do a fuel strategy, let the guy go, and then make it on gas.
And Keselowski, we don't think he has enough gas that he can go to the end. He was trying to break the draft to not help the 12.
Kyle Larson restarted 23rd at lap 130, only 20 laps ago, so he has made a lot of moves.
He's able to do with his car things that other people can't. He's able to enter low, enter high, and still make good lap time. So whatever defense that is being played in front of him, he's able to answer it. Look at that late entry. Look how high he is on corner entry. Then look what it does on his exit. He leaves lower, leaves faster. If he can do that on 4, coming down this front straightaway, he can get by Hemrick here.
They're not saving fuel anymore. We just saw over 192 miles an hour by Keselowski as he entered turn 3. We'll see what happens in 1 here. The pace is picking up.
Oh, look, here we go again. The other thing you worry about is Keselowski or Hemrick running out in front of you. Hemrick's doing a great job.
Keselowski trying to break the draft.
Another
Blaney's
run.
trying to use it.
Another run by Larson. Can he do anything with it? Not this time.
Blaney's looking frustrated because the 6 has picked up his pace. I think he thought he was so low on fuel he could just get by the 6. I mean, look, he's picked up almost 2 miles an hour just in the last few laps.
So Blaney has turned it up, and Keselowski in front of him has done the same to try to stay in front of him. And now 9 laps to go.
Blaney's best friend right now is the 31, worst enemy, the 6. He would love to have that clean air.
Larson behind Hemrick is making Hemrick use that mirror, trying to make him make a mistake. If Hemrick can just miss the bottom of the corner, he's got a big run on him again. If he can just miss the bottom of the corner by 6 inches, then Larson can take it. Here he is. Big run, lift right there by Hemrick, letting him go.
Up to 3rd for Larson.
Bottom left, Jonathan Hassler, crew chief of the 12.
Listen to the 12 radio.
I'm trying. He picked it up now. Be over.
There you have it. And now here comes Larson. Look at the run he has on the 12. 8 laps to go.
Blaney's frustration is, I think he thought a fellow Ford teammate, if you absolutely can't make it, help me out, let me go. The bow tie, the 5, running them both down.
Well, we just saw Hemrick hit pit road. He knew he couldn't make it. He just pitted. Keselowski has not pitted, obviously.
Oh, but Blaney will the 6 pit before the 12 gets passed by the 5.
Into turn 3.
Blaney knows it. You see how much he lifted and ran so low into the corner?
Oh, big run by Larson. Big run. Can he do anything with it? Late exit again, late entry rather. Forward momentum on corner exit. Blaney too much speed to match him though.
7 laps to go. Keselowski stays out. And the question now is, how long can Keselowski go before he runs out of fuel?
This is unbelievable. He's been able to go this far. Just shows you the fuel economy these drivers can get when the pace slows.
Blaney entered really low that time. Got kind of stuck behind the 6. Can Larson take advantage of it? No, he can't.
You see, we're showing 52 laps run and really an empty fuel tank for Keselowski right now. Or very close to it.
Yeah, empty by math. Fuel still in reality. The 6 somehow stays on the racetrack.
Keselowski has won here at the Brickyard before. The 2 behind him have not. Blaney and Larson. Now 6 laps to go.
Blaney has become a masterful driver of taking advantage of opportunities. I do not believe he's going to make a mistake. Larson's going to have to find a way to take it from him.
And could it be helping Blaney that Keselowski's out there?
No.
I mean, fuel-wise?
Maybe
not at all.
Fuel-wise, but I think he's burning all the fuel right now. I don't think it's a fuel battle anymore. I mean, he's either saved it enough or he hasn't. Now it's about holding position on the 5.
I will say this, Rick. When that 6 pulls off and Blaney has clean air, his car is going to drive differently. He is going to have a different driving race car, and he is going to have to adapt immediately. And you don't completely know what's going to happen when you have clean air that first time. That's when Larson needs to jump.
40 green flag laps for Brad Keselowski, 14 yellow. By my math, that's 44, 45 laps of total fuel. I just can't see a world where he can run 5 more laps, but he continues to stay out. If he can pull it off, this will be the most masterful fuel savings I've ever seen.
And that's the driver of the 6. Brad Keselowski out in front. Blaney running 2nd. Larson is 3rd. Larson, the most fuel of all 3. Larson confident that he can get to the end. The other 2, not sure.
And to your point, now you're getting to a point, Jeff, where if the 6 runs out the wrong spot,
Larson got a big run that time. Still not enough, but that was the best run on the exit of 4 he's gotten in the last few laps.
4 to go. Fire's still lit under the hood of the 6.
I'm nervous.
For who?
Everybody.
Keselowski down the backstretch. Blaney in tow. Larson looking for an opportunity. Very close this time. He took a look to the inside. He's not close enough.
A big block by the 12. Nice job getting to the bottom of that corner. Coming to 3 to go.
It was such a big block. I didn't know if Blaney could make the corner like he needed to, but he did a great job of getting that block, entering low, and still hitting his marks.
Have we all overestimated the 6? Have we just taken him for granted? Can he possibly run 7.5 more miles?
3 laps, 7.5 more miles. Does he have it in the tank? Keselowski out in front here in Indy.
Well, Logano in Nashville went 10 laps further than anybody thought they could.
Nashville quite a bit shorter of racetrack.
Yeah. Larson with a big entry into 2 that time, super high. Gained some momentum. He's not going to be able to make the move here, but can he force Blaney into a mistake? Right there, that's what he's doing. He's not really thinking he can pass him. He's just wanting Blaney to be looking in the mirror to distract him.
Coming out. Oh, we've got a caution that comes out. It's the 8 of Kyle Busch.
And you heard a radio, max save, max save. I can tell you that could have been anybody in the top 20 on the radio about saving fuel.
Kyle Busch was running 6th. Now with the caution coming out, there's going to be overtime. So Keselowski, we weren't sure if he was going to make it to 160 laps. Now there's going to be more. Let's ride along. Contact with the 11.
Oh, it's been that kind of year. Kyle Busch just cannot have anything go right. See how low he enters? See his car coming up the racetrack? His entry was so low because of the block that he wasn't able to make the corner, and that's what I kept talking about Blaney. What he was able to do is enter that low and still stay on the bottom. See, up the racetrack.
Yeah.
It's just such an early entry.
But that shows you how good of a job the 12 is doing.
Exactly.
Because he's entering that low and it's working out.
Exactly.
Happened just behind the leaders. And now, fuel save as you see the 8 stopped.
Well, now what?
Boy.
Overtime.
Well, Brad Keselowski was last on pit road at lap 102. We thought under green they could run 42, maybe 43 laps. He has run 42 laps of green and 15 laps of yellow. I mean, that is 57 total laps. Even if you got a 3-to-1 on your cautions, meaning you can run 3 cautions for the price of 1 green flag lap, that's 47 total laps of the fuel tank. So it's just such an amazing job. Now the question, though, is on a very flat racetrack, you know, can you fill the pickup up? Can it accelerate? This is a track we see stack-ups all the time.
Pit road is open. We'll see if anybody takes it, has to take it.
Well, I think they want to, but I just don't think Matt McCall, the crew chief of this 6 car at this point, you just got to ride it out.
Oh, you see right here, Denny Hamlin. So they must have not been comfortable with their fuel savings, and Zane Smith. So these guys were on pit road 10 laps after Brad Keselowski, and yet they're coming to pit road now, Kim.
Including Zane Smith. They told him we do not have enough. We in fact think we are 2 laps short with the additional laps that we put on it. So you see the gas going in for Zane Smith.
Chris Gabehart makes the call to bring Denny Hamlin down pit road, Kim. He said a moment ago, I don't think we can make it. I don't think we're going to have a choice. We're going to have to come down here. 4 to go. Denny Hamlin, who's had one of the better cars today, led 21 laps to this point, going to have to pit to make sure they can make it to the end of the race. Right side tires and fuel.
So the 8 of Kyle Busch on the inside of the 11 drifts up the racetrack and spins around and into the outside wall.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the number 6 team of Brett Keselowski has made their bet. You guys stayed out. Do you have enough to make it to the end?
I mean, I think we're short, but sometimes you don't really know what you have, right? You try to compute everything, so we're going to see what happens. Go from there.
What are you telling your driver?
Just have fun. I mean, there's nothing else we can do about it now. We've committed, we've laid the groundwork, and we're going to make it to 160. We're going to need a couple more, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, we'll see what happens with this team.
All right, Steve, let's talk about fuel in the pickup.
Well, let's talk about how these fuel cells work, right? We heard about it, so we're inside the fuel cell left and right. There's 2 pickups. Both of these have fuel in it. And what happens is they both pick up right side and left side and fill that box up and go. The problem is this is flat right here. So on a bank track, it kind of fills to the left side. If you're going around at speed, it fills to the right side. But here at Indianapolis with no banking, I mean, you can have a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch of fuel kind of sloshing around down there, and it just doesn't get picked up. That's why you're going to see cars kind of moving back and forth to not only clean the tires, but to fill up the fuel pickups, Dave.
Nervous times for Jonathan Hassler, crew chief for Ryan Blaney. Do your pickups have enough fuel to get to the end and maybe a little bit more?
Yeah, I think we're probably good for this one green white checker. Definitely in a little better situation than 6. So hopefully we can get this win right here.
Good luck.
I like it. I like it. And for that reason, I really like Blaney having the opportunity to choose next to the 6. So if the 6 doesn't accelerate, he can kind of get clear. Let's not mess up that 45. He had some pace back there as well.
Yeah, what does Larson do right here? We've seen how aggressive he is on corner entry. I think the goal for Larson is to try to get forward momentum and pop it 3 wide, getting into 1. I don't know that you can win this race any other way. With Blaney on the outside, he is going, unless he's not able to clear the 6. I think Blaney has a little faster car. If he clears the 6, it's game over. So I think Larson has to be on full offense on the front straightaway when he launches coming to turn 1.
Let's listen into the 12 radio.
Hi, buddy. This is for all the marbles. Brickyard. Go get them.
I think anytime you mention Brickyard, that just makes you dig a little bit deep. Even if you've been digging pretty deep, you want to dig a little bit deeper to grab the win here.
Well, look at the list of names, right? Keselowski, Blaney, Larson, Reddick. We've talked about them. Bell has just kind of had a quiet day. Here he is in 5th. Todd Gilliland 6th. Cindric after the penalty all the way back to 7th. Bubba Wallace still scoring those so valuable points in 8th. Ryan Preece, Suarez.
Back to Elliott before you have somebody who we would guess has enough fuel at 124.
I'm done guessing. Since Brad's still running, I'm done guessing.
So many times, Steve did a great job of explaining how these fuel cells work. But so many times when cars get low on fuel, you think they're fine, you think they're running. When you get in the restart zone, they don't go. And it's been in the history of NASCAR, that seems to be the big issue. Trying to get them launched and pick up enough fuel when the car's going forward, all the acceleration is going forward, that's when we seem to have problems.
And these fuel-injected systems don't need a lot of fuel pressure to idle. But when you step on the gas and you need to go, you need increased fuel pressure.
6 is close. And he's out. He's out. So the 5 moves forward into the front row. It's overtime, presented by Credit One Bank. Blaney on the outside. Larson on the inside. Green flag back in the air. 2 laps of racing in Indy. Who else is going to run out? And a wreck in turn 1. The caution comes out, there'll be another restart.
Yeah, for the 4th time today, we've seen a big pile up on the restart.
John Hunter Nemechek involved in the 42. Oh, there's Denny Hamlin, who had just come to pit road. He's right involved.
There, guys, are you okay?
Chase Briscoe has damage to that number 14.
And all these guys with damage, hope everyone's okay. Interested to see if Larson did get in front of Blaney there. He's being scored as he's in front of him, but they've got to go back and determine that.
So Bowman was involved in this one.
It's such an interesting situation. So what happens with the 6 being the leader, he then establishes the inside lane. He has the right to take off first. NASCAR is going to work on this lineup. But then what happens is when the 6 pits, that moves up and let the 5 start on the front row.
That's correct.
Big contact in 1.
Yeah, that's a big shot. I think that's the 42 right there, the white car is.
And such a good day John Hunter had. Just a block, another block. So Nemechek made a very late block getting into one. Watch this. See, Nemechek came down the racetrack. Hemrick was there. Big impact. Gosh, those are big wrecks.
Nemechek glanced off that inside, the barrier in between pit road and the outside wall.
Yeah, see, here comes Hemrick. And, yeah, he just, you know, Hemrick couldn't get slowed down like Nemechek expected that he could. They were on corner entry as well.
Yeah.
Which makes it even that much harder to gauge it.
You see the red on the NBC logo. The cars have been stopped on the front straightaway.
Glancing blow off that inside wall.
And the red flag, I don't believe, has anything to do with fuel load. That NASCAR's not really ever done that. Just this track is so narrow that they have to get the cleanup underway in turn 1 with all the cars sitting down there.
And due to the breaking news today, the NASCAR Cup Series race on NBC will be available on USA for the conclusion of this race from Indianapolis. You see the red flag has been displayed for the second overtime. And so as the track is getting cleared up, just a reminder, due to that breaking news today, this race will continue on USA.
This is a look at the restart right here. So the 6 of Brad Keselowski was the leader of the race. He chose the inside lane. Kyle Larson chose the outside lane.
Ryan Blaney did.
I'm sorry, Ryan Blaney chose the outside lane. When the 6 comes to pit road, it's post-choose. The choose has happened. The inside lane moves up. The rule is then the 12 becomes the control car. Now Ryan Blaney on the outside has the right to start this race. Kyle Larson gets a freebie row, but the 12 gets to fire first as we roll into the restart zone. I'm not sure what happened. I'm wondering if the drivers knew the rule, knew who could fire first, but the rule is the 6 moves, the inside lane moves up. That makes the 12 now the leader of the race.
You're exactly right on all the rules. And remember, this restart thing happened earlier this year at Richmond. Hamlin got a great launch by a few feet. They didn't call it because they said it was so close they didn't want to make the call. Very similar situation right here. To see a little bit of a hit right there from Gilliland from behind.
So I don't have a problem with the restart. Here's my thinking, though. You know, Ryan Blaney is mentally preparing to restart second. That's a different approach, right, Jeff? He's like, all right, I'm going to judge this. The 6 is going to accelerate. Here's what I'm going to do. Then instantly he goes from second to first. Now he has to change his whole mindset. He hasn't been prepared to roll them into the restart zone. When should he fire? His whole mindset has to change, and I just think the 12 would have got a better restart if he knew he was the control car. It was kind of dropped in his lap, Jeff, at the last minute.
And again, under a red flag condition here, as we will have another overtime. So another attempt at overtime. And a reminder, again, because of the breaking news that took place earlier today, this Cup race coverage will be available on USA for the conclusion of the race. And we'll ask you to turn right over after the commercial break. And there's a possibility that we will go straight there, as again they're trying to clean up the racetrack. This was a pretty big incident in turn number 1 involving quite a few cars. So as they're cleaning up the racetrack, the red flag has been displayed. There's still another opportunity in front of these drivers to win the Brickyard 400. Who is going to grab it? Again, make sure to join us on USA for the conclusion of the Brickyard 400 for the NASCAR Cup Series. The Brickyard 400 in front of these drivers. The opportunity to win one of the crown jewels of NASCAR. Larson, Blaney, Reddick, Gilliland, Bell, all in the top 5. Dave, what about the 12? Ryan Blaney, are they feeling confident they've got enough fuel?
Well, Steve and Jeff did a good job of explaining the rule. This is what Ryan Blaney thought.
That's bullshit. Don't get away that he gets to jump up a row and I get because someone runs that again. That's
So, clearly not happy, and obviously you guys said it happened after the choose. Had he chosen as the control car, he would have chosen the inside because the later radio transmission was, hey, I cannot win from up here. Of course, the team encouraging him that he can win from the outside, but clearly now Larson, if he is the control car, would choose the inside. So, a lot happening.
That is 100% the rule. The rule is called correctly here. And to Steve's point, you have to adjust, but you have to adjust on the fly in the second because he has spent the last 3 or 4 minutes planning a restart, knowing what he was going to have to do, and in a matter of a second it changed. And now your head starts spinning. What do I do? What do I do? But the rule is right. They got this rule right. Now, he may not like it, but the only way to fix it is not throw the green flag. The only way to fix it is if you don't like the rule, you'd have to go all the way around the racetrack, do the whole choose situation all over again, and that's not what we're going to do. We're going to go back green. It's been this rule for forever, and it's not the wrong rule. Was it a disadvantage? Was it bad break for Blaney? Yes. But I don't think having another 2 laps of caution to fix it is worth it.
He should be back green. He should be furious at the situation, just not at somebody thinking it was incorrect.
Right.
I mean, that's just what happens.
And it was 200 yards. I mean, literally. Right. Brad Keselowski pulls off the racetrack, and 200 yards later is the line for the restart. And so there's not a lot of time for Blaney to grab all of that information and, like you said, put a plan together for that restart.
But let me say this. It's the competitors' jobs to know the rules. That is paramount to being successful in this sport. And if you know the rule, now you just change focus. Now you change focus on what do I have to do rather than emotionally going through this is wrong, this is wrong. Yes, I caught a bad break, but this is the rule. And then you put your energy to that. You don't put your energy to this is wrong. You put your energy to, okay, now what do I have to do? Because he becomes the controller of the restart. So now he's got to change gears and say, how do I control this restart to my advantage rather than this is wrong, this is wrong. That's 2 different looks at it, Rick. I like to look at it of how do I take advantage of it rather than I got put in a bad situation.
And so, once again, just a reminder, overtime, under a red flag condition, they're cleaning up turn number 1. There was quite a few cars that were involved. There's fluid that has been put down in turn 1, and we know that these cars are turning in excess of 190 to 195 miles an hour when they go to turn into turn number 1. And so they want to make sure that
surface is clear. So the rules are, we've explained, that the 12 becomes the restart. So let's talk about this. The 6 pulls off. I mean, last minute, he's cleaning up his tires, swerving. I mean, he basically follows the pace car. The 5 and the 12 pull up. And now it basically comes down to, how this gets fired off. And when you watch it, I don't know if the 12 doesn't accelerate very good. If the 5 rolls a little bit, at the end of it, the restart itself doesn't bother me. I don't think the 5 jumped the restart by any means. I know there's going to be some that disagree with that. We see a lot of restarts. That was no means do I want that to be in the hands of the officials. That is racing. I just think if the 12 knows he's the leader on the backstretch, 20 seconds earlier, when his nose hits line 1, he's gone. There's no way Ryan Blaney waits to the end of that restart zone if he has 20 seconds to kind of get his mind around that.
Well, what we haven't considered is, did Larson know the rule?
Maybe he thought he was
Did he think he was the controller of the restart?
Good question. Yeah. That's a good question.
Those 5 cars involved in the accident there on lap 162, they're in the lower left. And Marty, I believe you have caught up with Cliff Daniels. Is he feeling confident about this next restart?
Boy, Rick, what a scrappy day it has been for this 5 team. The bad pit stop earlier on. You have managed your way to get track position here, Cliff. What do you think about this final restart and how you coach your driver through it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a key restart, and have a lot of confidence in Kyle. He does so well in these type situations. I know he's going to be ready and prepared. Obviously, everybody around us is going to be tight on fuel, us included. So I'm looking forward to watching him, execute the restart. Really proud of our HendrickCars.com team. It has definitely been a tough day. I'm really proud of our guys, the way they handled the situation when we did have a lug start to cross thread. I'd gotten frustrated at the moment, not knowing what happened, but our guys played it great. Very proud of the pit crew. And just going to take a minute to give a shout out to the folks at Hendrick Motorsports. We put a lot of prep into this race, engine shop, car shop, the sim department, and everyone has really, pulled together for this race right before the 2-week off break, and, really proud to be part of an organization like that. Very thankful. So big thanks to all those folks back at home. Hope to make them proud.
With this fuel advantage he has over the 12 car of Ryan Blaney, will that play to his favor on this restart? Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The interesting part about the way that whole run took place is while the 12 was up front, he was able to save fuel relative to us. We had to go hard to get through traffic. So the relativity of the fuel on board may be a little more equal, if that makes sense, just because the fuel burn that we had under green. So yeah, we have a little bit more on board, which is good for us. And, obviously Blaney's done his part to save fuel. So be fun to see how it plays out here. Hopefully we can get, a green run to the end and we don't keep having a lot of yellows. So we'll see. So what do you do under this red flag? Do you leave your driver alone? Do you let him think through the restart? Because I heard you say on the last restart, I want you to think through what you're going to do on this restart. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a lot that I'll coach him on right here. He obviously just did a great job on that one. And, what's fun about working with him, he drives so many different types of cars. He's so dynamic. He knows what it takes to start up front and lead a sprint car race or a late model race, a cup race, even the IndyCar experience that he had. So I think all of that, different experience for him really pays off in a situation like this where he can think through, step by step what he has to execute. So I'm not going to mess with him. And the crown jewel is on the line here. One they have not won, Rick. Now, one note, Kyle Larson did say a moment ago, the starter on the 5 car is not working, so they're going to need a push-off. But see, that should not be a big deal, correct?
Because NASCAR red flagged and stopped the cars. That's the difference. If you stop in your pit stall on your own and it won't crank, man, too bad. NASCAR stopped the car, so you will be allowed to have a push. They will push you basically a lap, right? But if it will not fire all the way around back to turn 4, they'll shove you down pit roads. I assume it will fire off if it's only a starter issue, but it's worth noting, Marty, we'll keep an eye on that 5 car.
And so Marty had mentioned this is one of the crown jewels that Kyle Larson doesn't have. He's won the 600, he's won the Southern 500, looking for a Brickyard 400. This is the reason for the caution. Accident on the restart, claiming 5 cars that are now out of the race. We'll have a restart when we return.
That's one hell of a drive there, DH. All right, baby! How about that? Bring it home, baby. Yeah, boy, great job.
I'ma give the people just what they want. Trophies, banners up on their walls. Champagne bottles emptied on floors.
Checker, sober, nice work. Oh, yeah, guys. Hell yeah, boys, doing it at home. That's how you win a race, team.
I got a world in my palms, yeah.
Right after the Paris 2024 Olympic break, it will be to Richmond. Take a look at the playoff standings as they run. That gap between Chastain and Wallace, 4 points separate those two.
And don't forget, when we go to Richmond, Option Tires, big news story. We talk about changes in NASCAR for the first time in a points-paying race. You're going to have the regular tire we see every week and then a couple sets of softer tires. Who uses them at the right time?
Tough race for the driver of the 48s, Alex Bowman. He was involved in the most recent incident. He's standing by with Kim.
Yeah, Rick, part of that stack up during the restart. And we heard on the radio it hurt or that hurt, something hurt. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Certainly a big one, though. I feel like they normally are here. So, yeah, bummer day. We didn't have a very good day going with our Ally Camaro. We were pretty fast. We had some air on it, but just really tight and dirty air and was stuck in traffic there. And getting blocked all down the straightaway for 27th was pretty fun. So just didn't need to be that far back in that position, right? We should be running better than that. And unfortunately, the way the strategy fell and the cautions fell, we got buried there and struggled to overcome it. But yeah, we had a lot going on. My dash was on fire at one point. That was kind of cool. Interesting day for sure.
On that restart, could you see what was happening in front of you or get any sense of what was going on?
Yeah, I mean, the 77 was being super aggressive, trying to get low. And so I just filled the middle, and then the bottom crashed and washed up across in front of me. So yeah, nowhere to go or anything we could do. I think I hit the 42 and then really hit the outside wall. So hate it. Glad everybody seems to be all right, but yeah, not the day we needed.
Hard hit for Alex Bowman. Glad he's okay, Dave.
Christopher Bell pitted on lap 112. I just checked in with his crew chief, Adam Stevens. I said, how are you on fuel? Bad. He said he thinks maybe they have 1.5 gallons left. Steve, so we'll do some math there. If it's a 2.5 mile track, 1 gallon gets you 2.5 miles and a little bit more. So probably not much more beyond a lap and a half, maybe 2 laps here, Kim.
And Dave, John Hunter Nemechek has been released from the care center, also part of that stack up on the restart. Walk us through what you could see and what you knew what was happening.
I changed lanes there after the start-finish line, got to the bottom, had a pretty good run, and everyone started checking up, getting in one. So I checked up, and I think I got hooked kind of in the left rear here. I'm not really sure. I moved down, and they kind of just got me there. It sucks. Our Pi Barker Toyota Camry XSE was really fast today. We led laps, not leading laps at a speedway race, actually leading laps today. Proud of all the guys, proud of the effort. Pi Barker Fire and Safety colors looked really good today. Thank you to everyone, Toyota, TRD, everyone to keep us safe. That was a really hard hit, but overall excited for a couple weeks off here after the last few weeks, but proud that we've been able to show speed 3 out of the last, I guess, 5 weeks. So looking forward to getting back after the break and seeing what we can do.
17-minute red flag, and the red has been lifted back under caution as they're doing some finishing touches to turn 1. And the field's rolling.
What's not to be lost in all of this chaos is what Cliff Daniels was talking about, fuel load and fuel burn, right? So everybody that pitted at lap 112, which is a majority of the front, is short on fuel check, and I was checking in with Cliff Daniels, but Cliff was saying, hey, I know it looks good because we came 10 laps later, but we were hammered down. The whole time the leaders were out there running 52-second laps, Kyle was not worried about fuel. He had to push it. So, you know, Cliff is not one to normally make up a motion, but he did feel like there was a little bit of twinge, and I don't want to have a whole lot of these overtimes. Maybe Larson himself isn't good enough on fuel.
You know, somebody that has kind of snuck themselves back in this is Tyler Reddick. And how many races has he come so close to winning and it get away from him? He actually has a lap more fuel than Larson. So a little more insurance with him. He is going to be pushing hard. I mean, he's, you know, we've heard in those races where he's run second, we've heard the disappointment in his voice. It's devastated him to lose those races, and here he is at the Brickyard with a chance to win. And then lining up next to him is going to be Todd Gilliland. You know, a guy looking for his first win, doing a great job, has turned a lot of heads this year, signed a long-term contract with this team. Here he is in position, and I'm telling you, if whoever's in third, second row, bottom lane, that could be the place to be, because if the two leaders get together door to door like they've been all day long and that hole opens up, that could be a key to that could be a pathway to victory.
Too many blank squares there on the leaderboard for me to think this is going to be the last overtime finish.
Yeah.
We saw this at Nashville. Fuel, 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 wreck, wreck, wreck. 5 overtimes at Nashville that Joey Logano somehow survived with fuel in the tank. And I think it's the same situation here. There's so many guys, Jeff, stumble. You know, nobody is caring. They're going to push like you're going to go, and if you don't go, it'll be another wreck.
Pit road is open, and we're not seeing any takers. It will end up being a 2-lap shootout if this is the final overtime. But as you mentioned, it might not be.
Ross Chastain was on pit road under the last yellow, and he's back to 15th already. Right? I mean, Austin Dillon having a great, I mean, he's back to 18th. So, you know, we don't know what's going to happen in the front 15 positions.
The only thing we are assured of is that the restart's going to be wild. We have seen blocking. We have seen aggressive late moves. And that has caused many cautions. Most of these cautions are because of restarts. Well, now, you know, it's essentially 2 to go when they drop the green here, and it's going to become. Why is it going to become less aggressive? And I think that's the key, right? Is who makes the wrong move at the wrong time, and will that be the last caution? Because if we keep getting these cautions, then that brings fuel even that much more into question.
So the next time they come by will be when they choose. They get to choose inside, outside, and then we go for the restart as they continue to do a little cleanup down in turn 1.
And all the crew chiefs are telling their drivers to watch your fuel pressure lights, because what will happen is, while we don't have that reserve switch anymore, they're probably already on 2 switches, running both pickups, everything we showed you in the animation, you get a little bit of a hint. You know, at these speeds, at idle, if you see fuel pressure drop at idle or any signal that you're out of fuel, you absolutely don't have fuel acceleration at RPM. And for sure not at a 2.5-mile racetrack.
And something else that is going on and that has been created with all this chaos. Look at the points. Chris Buescher, who a few weeks ago we thought was in great shape, he's only 16 points to the good. Chastain only 7 to the good. Bubba Wallace, he's only 7 behind. He's made up a lot of ground the last few weeks. He's running 5th. Could he get a win here and lock himself into playoffs? This battle is getting tighter and tighter.
So they'll come back by for the choose. Right now, this race is in the hands of Larson. So Kyle Larson's up front. We believe he has the most fuel of the people around him.
Him and Reddick.
And so with the position he's in, if they're able to get all the way around and get the white flag, great for Larson. But if somebody runs out of fuel and can't get back around and doesn't get off the racetrack, we get another caution.
I don't think somebody running out of gas without an accident would cause us not to see the white flag. You know, if they're somewhere on the backstretch still rolling, I think NASCAR is going to, you know, see if they'll pull off in one of the openings back there. Maybe they stay on the racetrack. I think they would wait to see what that driver does before they put the caution out.
And you're assuming Larson's going to have the lead. Blaney is going to argue with that. You know, Blaney's going to do everything in his power here. They're coming to get the choose. So which lane is Larson going to go with?
He's going inside.
I'm surprised.
I
am really surprised that he went to the bottom. I think that has exposed him to Blaney just getting on that door and just crowding him down and having a drag race down the back straightaway.
So Reddick's going to start behind Larson. It's Blaney and Gilliland that will be the first 2 rows on the outside.
Brickyard 400, the return to the oval, 30 years since the first race. I mean, there's just so many things. All races are important. All wins put you into the playoffs, but this is one, especially if you're Ryan Blaney, who drives for Roger Penske, the man who owns the Speedway. Let's listen in.
All right, keep saving as long as you can. I think we're okay for this one. It's going to be close. Any more is going to be a real big stretch, but got one shot at it here.
Okay, I understand you want to save fuel. I get it. But to get your tires clean, to be able to launch in this restart zone, you need to be buzzing the rear tires, spinning them, getting heat in them, cleaning them off, swerving like this. You can't swerve like this when you're not under acceleration. You have to be using fuel to have the tires ready. So the whole goal here for Larson, in my eyes, is number one, he needs a big push. He needs Tyler Reddick pushing him hard through the restart zone, and he needs to leave before the 12 car. He has to surprise Blaney. If he can surprise Blaney, get launched first, maybe he can clear him before he ever gets to turn one. But if Blaney checks him and it leaves the restart zone door to door with him, it's going to be game on.
Steve, any last words before they come out of turn 4?
Look, if I am, say, Tyler Reddick's crew chief, I would say, look, the 12 and the 38 are lowest on fuel. So, you know, don't give up. Don't panic right away. They could run out of gas. We could be doing this again. I would just make sure I'm giving every sort of opportunity and all the hope possible to my driver.
And what we see, Larson let Reddick know when to go. Really put the hand out the window and tell him to go so that he gets a shove into that restart zone and across the stripe. It's about to happen. The pace car has gone on to pit road. Larson in control, Blaney on the outside. The second overtime, it'll be 2 laps. A great launch for Larson. Reddick way back. Here comes Blaney on the outside. Larson easily by Blaney, and you see Blaney wiggling. Does he have enough fuel?
Now can Larson hold off Reddick? Oh!
Spinner on the back stretch, and is he going to make contact? He does with the inside wall. We'll see if he continues to roll. They stay green if that car will continue to roll.
Oh, he's trying to roll.
That's Ryan Preece, and he is trying to roll, but he's got a flat right rear tire. Out of 4, will they see the white flag? Larson in front, Reddick running second. One more time around. And the 41 still isn't moving.
I don't see any way NASCAR lets them race by this.
And there's the caution. Larson's going to do it. Larson is going to win the Brickyard 400.
We get back to the line.
Preece started to roll. He couldn't continue. The caution comes out after they had received the white flag, and Kyle Larson gets his 27th career victory, and it comes with another crown jewel win. The Brickyard 400.
Think about the month of May that Kyle Larson had here trying to run his first Indy 500. The fans here absolutely showed him tons of love. Every time he'd come to pit road, they'd all stand up and cheer.
Brickyard 400, baby, hell yeah!
It didn't work out for him on that day, but it has today.
Good job, guys. Good job.
They had the orange on there from Arrow McLaren. They wanted to do the double. There's Mr. H. He was the honorary pit car or pace car driver earlier, celebrating with the team. The orange is on the car from that attempt at the double in May, where he was going to run the Indy 500 and then go run the Coke 600. But because of rain here in Indianapolis, he stayed to finish the race. He got to Charlotte late and wasn't able to get into the car in Charlotte because that rain, or the rain in Charlotte, pushed it too late to where they couldn't restart, so Larson wasn't able to do the double. But now Kyle Larson wins at the most famous racetrack in the world. Kyle Larson has been deemed one of the, if not the greatest race car driver in the world today. This was the issue that ended up bringing the caution out, where Ryan Preece could not continue. It looks like Elliott gets him from behind. Just grazed that inside wall, but I think the rear tire's going down. Did not enable him to keep going. Rick Hendrick spent the month of May, a lot of the month of May, here watching how Kyle Larson was doing in the IndyCar.
Larson looking for his team.
Larson on the scoring pylon here. He parks it on the yard of bricks. The tradition that Dale Jarrett, Todd Parrott started when they won the Brickyard 400, and now that tradition has continued for everyone who races here in Indianapolis.
During the month of May, these Indianapolis fans fell in love with Kyle Larson today. Here in July, he delivers them a win in the Brickyard 400. The third crown jewel for Kyle Larson, the 11th for Mr. Hendrick and Hendrick Motorsports. Crowd chanting Larson. I told you they fell in love with him during the month of May. Kyle, you've won some big races in your career, but this is Indianapolis. Is this ranked #1 now?
It's for sure up there. Like you mentioned, this is just such a prestigious place and such hallowed ground, and pretty neat to just to get an opportunity to race here on the oval again. And what a job by our team. I mean, never gave up at all. And we had the pit stop issue there early on, and just fought and dug and had things work out. So just can't thank them enough. HendrickCars.com, Valvoline, Chevrolet, Junior Almond Bar, Prime, all the fans too. I love you Indiana fans. And I know you guys love me too. So how about we come back next May and try and kiss these bricks on the IndyCar?
Is that a guarantee you're doing the double again?
I'd love to. We'll work on it. So I hope we can announce something soon, and see you guys all next May.
Does this make up for the month of May that you had this year, Kyle, when you left very disappointed?
It does. I mean, I guess a little bit. I wish we could have got to do both and run the 600, because we had a phenomenal papaya orange car for that race too. But I think everything just comes full circle, and everything's meant to be. And today was definitely felt meant to be for us. With the way the strategy was working out. Brad running out of fuel, me and Harrington in the front row, and all that. Just a lot had to fall into place, and thankfully it did. So I just can't believe it. It's just surreal to win here, and can't wait to kiss these bricks with my team. Rick Hendrick, who's here finally, my family, my friends, everybody. My parents are here, so we'll be celebrating these next couple weeks.
There's only one crown jewel left for Kyle Larson to check off the list. That's the Daytona 500, because now he's a winner at Indianapolis.
So after he got all the fans fired up and pumped up about him coming back in May, who's going to tell him he can't? I mean, that was the ultimate. That was the ultimate call right there.
Yeah,
that's right.
Calling his shot.
Hey, I'm gonna win the court of public opinion right here.
And he talks about the double, and that's something that was so publicized and so much effort was put into this May. Kyle Larson trying to do the double, run the Indy 500, and then go to do the Coke 600. Well, he wasn't able to do the double, but he was able to win the Brickyard 400. 3 crown jewels now with the Southern 500, the Coca-Cola 600, and the Brickyard 400. The celebration for Hendrick Motorsports now begins here in Indianapolis.